Chapter 45, The Inferior Student of the Class. Chapter 45, The Inferior Student of the Class. Cutting off the call, Shifeng immediately ate his instant noodles and hurried to school. When he was on the road, Shifeng finally recalled this incident. It was one of the reasons that caused his parents to fall gravely ill. In Shifeng's previous life, he and Blackie joined Shadow Workshop. When Zhao Ruoshi called him to go to the school, he chose to continue playing God's Domain instead of going. He joined Shadow Workshop after much trouble. If he wanted to rise in position within Shadow, he needed to have a good performance. How could he have the time to care about small matters that happened in the classroom? As a result, his university recommendation became non-existent. Although it was just a recommendation, it could allow students to find better jobs. The stress levels of the current society were extremely powerful, and jobs were not easy to find. Such a recommendation would be a stepping stone towards the higher levels of a company. Shifeng's parents were deeply worried after they found out about this incident. It was also because of such worries that caused the mental stress on his parents to increase substantially. Only, Shifeng's parents never revealed it to him. Instead, they encouraged him. They didn't want him to worry about their household debts. As a result, they became both physically and mentally exhausted, falling gravely ill a year later. In this life, Shifeng did not wish to repeat such a disaster, even if the recommendation was absolutely useless to him. However, he also wished to know the reason that caused him to lose the recommendation. Shifeng was considered average regarding results amongst his class. There were absolutely no problems with him obtaining the recommendation. He did not have a share in it. The only reason he could think of, for such a situation, was the incident that would happen today. After walking into the university, Shifeng discovered a very interesting situation. The school was crowded. There was an abnormal number of students in the university today. Usually, there would not be that many people within the university grounds. The students would usually study in the library or gather outside to have some fun. Worst case scenario, they would just stay in their dormitories and play games. Unlike the current situation, they wouldn't normally come out for a stroll. When Shifeng walked towards teaching block 3, he discovered that the normally empty classrooms were packed with people. All of them were fully occupied. What is happening today? Shifeng was puzzled. The moment Shifeng entered classroom 401, he could feel the air in the room was slightly odd. His classmates all shifted their gaze towards him, their expressions filled with astonishment. Shifeng was like something that should not be there, yet had actually appeared. The male students only glanced at Shifeng. They did not pay him any attention as they continued with their conversations. Meanwhile, some of the gorgeously dressed females in the class sent Shifeng expressions of disgust. However, Shifeng had long since gotten used to such reactions. When he was about to turn around and look at them, the females immediately turned their heads away. Fellow student Shifeng, you're here. Find a place to sit. When fellow student Ling Feilong arrives, everyone in the class will be present. The female monitor, Zhao Ruoshi, had a calm expression on her face when she spoke to Shifeng as if it was all just for formality's sake. However, Shifeng could faintly feel a hint of expectation in Zhao Ruoshi's eyes when she turned around to look at him. However, that expectation was not targeted towards him, but most probably towards the Ling Feilong she spoke of. All right. Shifeng nodded his head, simply choosing a corner to sit down in. As for sitting and starting a conversation with the other male classmates, Shifeng could tell it would be impossible just by looking at their expressions. In regards to such a situation, Shifeng could only let loose a bitter smile. In his previous life, he truly has failed at being a functioning human being. However, there was nothing he could do. To save money, he never participated in any of the student gatherings or class events. He had long since become an invisible existence within the class. In the eyes of his classmates, Shifeng might be a very reclusive person. Why is this person here? The class monitor should be the one who notified him. I never thought he would actually show up. He's just an inferior student in the class. Just looking at him makes me mad. Look at how cunning his eyes are. Don't tell me he took a fancy to this young lady. Disgusting. The students in the class started a quiet discussion about Shifeng. They were very shocked at Shifeng's arrival. Usually, Shifeng would never participate in any events, but now, this person, himself, actually showed up. Their disgust towards Shifeng was clear in their speech. Their tones when speaking also showed how much they looked down on him. The reason for such treatment was because Shifeng was weak. He was also often bullied by students from other classes. Moreover, he was the inferior student who was always too poor to join the class outings. It was just an embarrassment to be in the same class as him. Although their voices were soft, Shifeng could still hear them clearly. It was better to say they let Shifeng hear their conversation. Learning was only secondary in everyone's eyes. The truly important thing to have was a strong body. After all, the current age was one where body training was strongly emphasized upon. However, Shifeng's weak body clearly did not fit the current age. So, naturally, he had become an outcast within the class. However, Shifeng simply laughed away at his situation. He was no longer a child, so why would he be angry over the actions of these children? Currently, his heart was only concerned about the matters regarding the recommendation. Not long after, a robust youth entered the classroom. The youth's height was an entire 9 meters. This person was Ling Feilong. According to Shifeng's memories, Ling Feilong was a person with many tricks up his sleeve. After he graduated from university, he managed to woo the princess of a large corporation. 3 years later, he became the corporation's CEO. However, due to the virtual world's influence towards the real world growing ever larger, Ling Feilong invested in God's domain as well. At that time, he looked for Shifeng, his classmate, wanting to collaborate in God's domain. At that time, Shifeng was the captain of Shadow Workshop. He was also the guild leader of the guild, Shadow. Shadow was barely considered a second-rate guild during those times. However, it still had control over a large city with a population of 500,000 people. Considering they were once classmates, Shifeng agreed to Ling Feilong's proposal. Afterward, although Shadow earned quite a lot of money from the collaboration, Ling Feilong earned even more. At the same time, Ling Feilong groomed several powerful subordinates. Then, he somehow managed to gain the favor of a first-rate guild, abandoning Shadow. Everyone watched as Ling Feilong entered the classroom. The male students all stood up, displaying their respect towards him. On the other hand, the gorgeous female students from before sent meaningful gazes towards Ling Feilong. Even Zhao Ruoshi had some changes to her calm expression. Shifeng had plenty of experience with women in his previous life, so he could tell Zhao Ruoshi was somewhat interested in Ling Feilong. What kind of situation was this? Shifeng could not make heads of the current situation. It would be fine if it were just the other students, but Zhao Ruoshi was the class flower. She had a calm personality, an oval face, a graceful body, and even her family background were good. Normally, male students from other classes could be seen chasing after her. However, none of them ever entered her eyes. So, why did she take a fancy upon Ling Feilong? Was Ling Feilong fated to become a protagonist in life, a person who was loved and welcomed by all? Everyone, sit down. Like a leader, Ling Feilong naturally walked up to the lectern. He gratefully said, "Thank you for coming to congratulate me. I would not be here today were it not for all of your support. Brother Feilong, you are too humble. More than 5,000 people entered the school's fighting competition, yet you've managed to enter the top 10. You are the pride of our class. You now have the rights to enter Jinhai City's fighting competition without going through the pre-selections. This feat is not achievable by the average person. You mustn't forget about us once you've become a martial arts master in the future." "That's right, Brother Feilong. We're looking forward to you becoming the champion." The students in the class gave their congratulations one after the other. Some of the female students even thought of throwing themselves at Ling Feilong. However, Shifeng was an exception. He was truly dumbfounded. Originally, he thought a huge incident occurred, but it was just the school's fighting competition having just ended. They were only here to congratulate Ling Feilong for being able to enter the city's fighting competition. If it was before, Shifeng might have envied Ling Feilong. After all, there were just too many people who liked fighting competitions. Those who were able to participate in the city's fighting competition were much more appreciated than some big celebrity. This was due to the difficulty of entering the fighting competition. There was a strict selection system, and it was considered good to have 3 to 4 people selected out of 10,000. If these selected participants performed well, they might even get a contract to become the spokesperson for a large enterprise. With all the celebrity advertisements that would be offered, it wouldn't be difficult to amass wealth. Their futures would have boundless prospects. However, along with the rise in popularity of God's domain, people became even more addicted to fighting battles and wars in the game. After all, being able to personally experience the fight was still the best experience. The lack of danger of fighting in the game only made it even more exciting. As a result, many experts became idols of the players in God's domain. Chapter 46, Meeting an Acquaintance. Chapter 46, Meeting an Acquaintance. As everyone was giving their congratulations to Ling Feilong, the person, himself, had his eyes swept over to a corner of the room, the corner where Shifeng sat today. His eyes held a hint of dissatisfaction when he looked at Shifeng. He was the pride of the class and, even more so, a future celebrity. Yet, an inferior student like Shifeng actually did not intend to flatter him. After a round of flattery, Ling Feilong allowed the students to return to their seats. I thank everyone for your support. Please quiet down for a moment. I am here today because I have a matter that I wish to discuss, Ling Feilong said. Hearing Ling Feilong's announcement, everyone listened attentively. Only Shifeng remained uninterested towards Ling Feilong's matter. However, Shifeng could not help but pay attention after hearing Ling Feilong speak. It's something related to the school's recommendation. Ling Feilong calmly said, everyone knows how I am obsessed with fighting. However, my grades at school aren't that good, so it has caused some problems with my recommendation. So, I wish for someone here to give up a spot. The school has already agreed to this, so I am here to discuss this matter with everyone else. Brother Long, this is only a trivial matter. It is only a recommendation. As the pride of the class, as long as Brother Long requests it, there will definitely be someone in the class willing to give up their spot, a bootlicking male student said. Although everyone in the class agreed to this person's words, there was nobody who willingly stood up to give away their recommendation. In the end, finding a job was just too hard. The recommendation was much more valued than a person's educational background when working inside a big company. If they were to give up their recommendation, what would they do in the future? As for the ones who had no rights to the recommendation, to begin with, naturally, it was easier to be brave standing from a safe distance. They continuously incited the others like hot-blooded madmen. Ling Feilong's expression slightly darkened when he saw nobody taking initiative. Since everyone is reacting so proactively, it won't be good if I'm the one who does the choosing. How about this, let's raise our hands and vote, Ling Feilong suggested with a smile. That's a good idea. Brother Feilong is the smartest. Then let's start voting. The hot-blooded madmen all stood up one after another, their faces holding expressions of delight at the misfortune of others. Shifeng, who sat by the wall, was suddenly enlightened after looking at this scene. Crap. So it was these bastards who stole my recommendation. A wrathful flame ignited within Shifeng's heart. He was truly a fool in his previous life for actually working with Ling Feilong. Not in this life, however. If Ling Feilong wished to cause trouble for him in this life, he couldn't be blamed for reacting in kind. Maybe it was a continuation of his previous life, but the voting results did not change in the slightest. The students immediately sat Shifeng on the throne. Fellow student Shifeng, you are really lucky. I'm slightly envious of you. You'll get to have Brother Long cover for you from now on. You should be grateful to us. Everyone in the class started congratulating Shifeng as if Shifeng had just won a 5 million credit lottery. Fellow student, Shifeng, thank you, truly. After school is over today, I invite you to come with me for a drink at the Maple Leaf Bar. Ling Feilong smiled a hypocritical smile. He did not place Shifeng within his sights at all. There was not a hint of gratitude in his tone, only disdain. Following which, he turned to look at the other students, saying, of course, everyone else is also invited. Let us enjoy ourselves today. Hold on a moment, Shifeng suddenly said. Suddenly, everyone in the class turned their sights towards Shifeng. If Shifeng did not actively speak up, they might have long since forgotten about his existence. May I know if fellow student Shifeng has something he wishes to say? Ling Feilong looked towards Shifeng, asking with a smile. I will not agree with this, so why are you getting all joyous all on your own? Shifeng shot a glance at Ling Feilong, saying, if any of you wish to give him your recommendation, then just give it to him. In any case, I won't be letting go of my recommendation. If there are no other matters, I'll be leaving. Suddenly, the entire classroom became dead silent. Nobody could imagine that Shifeng, a person constantly bullied by students of other classes, actually rebelled against Ling Feilong. His current display was very abnormal. Was Shifeng not afraid of being taken out by Ling Feilong? Ling Feilong, as well, was shocked, not because of Shifeng's actions, however, but at Shifeng's foolishness. Did he actually think he could protect his recommendation just because he had refused to hand it over? This was a result voted by the entire class. It would be meaningless, even if Shifeng refused. When the time came, the university would still give him the recommendation. Even though the result was unchangeable, Shifeng still foolishly chose to stand against him. Should Shifeng be called foolish? Or did he have a few screws loose? Just when Ling Feilong wanted to take action, an impatient voice sounded from outside the door. Little Long, are you still not done? Brother Zhong doesn't like to be kept waiting. A tall blonde youth came in through the door. Following behind him was an alluring girl dressed in sexy and revealing clothing. The two together caused the male students to look on in envy. Shifeng shot a glance over, discovering that it was actually an acquaintance. The tall and blonde youth was coincidentally Flaming Tiger. His real name was Ju Yuhu, and he was a fourth-year university student, similar to Shifeng. This person had great talent, and he managed to obtain a good result of third place in the university's fighting tournament this time around. Meanwhile, the enchanting female by Ju Yuhu's side was also an acquaintance of Shifeng's. Her name was Qin Shuyu, and she was Shifeng's classmate during high school. She was also the flower of the class at the time. Shifeng was truly blind during those times. Young and dumb, he was actually enchanted by Qin Shuyu, even to the point of confessing his love to her. Naturally, the result was rejection. After entering university, Qin Shuyu had become Ju Yuhu's girlfriend. Qin Shuyu even mentioned to Ju Yuhu the matter of Shifeng's confession. As a result, Shifeng was often taken care of by students from other classes. After Shifeng joined Shadow, he was often sent to carry out senseless tasks, stunting his growth in God's domain. Brother Hu, why have you come here? I'll immediately go after I'm done settling my business here. When Ling Feilong saw the person who had arrived, he respectfully went up to welcome him with a smiling face. How much longer do you need? I don't have that much time to waste. Ju Yuhu wrinkled his brows, impatiently saying. He was parted from his duties as team leader today all because of that Yifeng character, and he had only recently risen to level 2. Afterward, he was even given a scolding by Brother Zhong. These occurrences caused him to become greatly irritated deep within his heart. 2 to 3 minutes should be enough. Ling Feilong replied. He felt teaching Shifeng the ways to be a proper person should not be a big problem. Good, then hurry up, Ju Yuhu demanded. Currently, Qin Shuyu's eyes unintentionally landed on Shifeng. Her expression was suddenly turning sour. She had no good impressions of Shifeng. He had neither money nor power. There was not the slightest feeling of safety or strength coming from him. When compared with Ju Yuhu, the difference between the two was hundreds and thousands of miles apart. Shifeng even confessed to her without knowing his own worth. It was just an insult to her person, and as a result, she was often made fun of by the other girls. Seeing the disgust on Qin Shuyu's face, Ju Yuhu hooked up her chin with his robust hand, teasingly saying, "Baby, I'll take care of him for you immediately, lest he shows up in front of you again." Qin Shuyu faintly smiled as she nodded, not having any intention of stopping Ju Yuhu. "Hey brat, come over here," Ju Yuhu pointed his finger at Shifeng, loudly roaring. Everyone was shocked at seeing Ju Yuhu's imposing manner. Who was Ju Yuhu? He was ranked 3rd in the school's fighting tournament. He was much more powerful when compared to the 9th-ranked Ling Feilong. A single hit from him was enough to send a person to the hospital for half a month. Ling Feilong naturally understood what was happening before him. Zhu Yuhu was irritated by Shifeng and wished to take care of him. Originally, he too wanted to teach Shifeng a lesson and let the entire class know of his prowess. If he were to take care of Shifeng right now, not only would he be helping himself, but he would also be able to sell a favor to Zhu Yuhu. He would be killing two birds with one stone. Hence, Ling Feilong stepped forward and volunteered, "Brother Hu, no need for you to personally take action. Originally, I already wanted to teach this kid a lesson. Give me 30 seconds. Little long, so the matter you had to deal with before was this." Zhu Yuhu looked towards Shifeng in disdain. He licked his lips, saying with a cold smile, "Better to let me. I also wish to loosen my bones a little." Saying this, Zhu Yuhu walked towards Shifeng with a cold smile. When did Shifeng become so manly? However, she also felt Shifeng was very foolish. How could he trade pointers with Zhu Yuhu? Now, Zhu Yuhu would have an excuse to teach Shifeng a lesson. Zhu Yuhu rubbed the reddened back of his hand, enraged. He glared at Shifeng, suddenly discovering Shifeng's current appearance was very calm and stable. It was as if Zhu Yuhu was looking at an entirely different person. Before, Shifeng would easily be incited and get into fights with others. Now, however, not only was he not aroused, but he was also smiling happily. Was his brain damaged? Ling Feilong was deeply enraged when he saw Shifeng's stretched arm actually touching Zhao Ruoshi. He could not help but wish he could take action immediately. However, he still held it in. He was prepared to put Shifeng in his place in the future. "Kid, you actually dare to challenge me. Truly interesting. Then I'll wager 1,000 credits. If you win, the 1,000 credits will be yours to keep. If you lose, then kneel and apologize to me, and also, compensate me with 1,000 credits. How about it? Do you dare to agree?" Zhu Yuhu furiously smiled. He never thought Shifeng's brain was truly damaged, daring to even provoke him. Such a petty wager. Aren't you embarrassed from saying it out loud? Shifeng shook his head and snorted in disdain. Your guts sure have grown after not meeting for a few days. Say it then, what kind of wager do you want? Zhu Yuhu was angered into a laugh. He knew Shifeng was poor, and he could not even afford the 1,000 credits. Now though, he had actually dared to increase the bargaining chip. Was he complaining that he didn't have a quick enough death? It seems his brain was truly wedged between a door. Didn't you win a membership card for the Big Dipper Training Center from the school's fighting competition? Use that as the wager. If I lose, I'll pay 10,000 credits to you a month later. If you don't have the courage to wager, then forget it. Shifeng provokingly said. In Shifeng's previous life, Zhu Yuhu showed off this membership card in front of others. Now, Shifeng could coincidentally use it to train his body. The Big Dipper Training Center was well known in Jinhai City. It had a great environment, and its training facilities were very thorough. The average person was not allowed to enter the training center at all, not to mention obtaining a VIP membership there. A normal membership was worth around 8,000 to 9,000 credits. Even if I wager this card, where would a poor wretch like you find that much money? I won't believe in empty words, Zhu Yuhu laughed coldly. Indeed, it was as Zhu Yuhu had said. Shifeng had not a penny on him at the moment, not to mention 10,000 credits. Hence, why he had said he would pay a month later. However, Zhu Yuhu would clearly not believe him. Instead, Zhu Yuhu turned around to mock him. It would seem Shifeng's plan was going to be dashed this time. Shifeng, did you think I don't know about your living conditions? You are so poor you can't even afford to have a good meal, yet you're still pretending to be wealthy. Qin Shuyu shot Shifeng a glance, commenting in disdain. I'll pay the 10,000 credits, Zhao Ruoshi abruptly said. Ling Feilong's eyes turned crimson when he saw Zhao Ruoshi standing up once again. He couldn't help but wish he could get rid of Shifeng right this instant. Shifeng was also shocked. He looked towards Zhao Ruoshi, astonished. He did not understand how Zhao Ruoshi had that much money. He wasn't very clear of Zhao Ruoxi's family background, either. Shifeng only knew that her family was relatively well off. However, Zhao Ruoxi was actually so believing of him, even to the degree of betting her money on him. Shifeng could not understand why she had done so. To begin with, the relationship between the two of them wasn't that great. Zhao Ruoxi looked at Shifeng. She knew the reason for Shifeng's astonishment. However, to not let him misunderstand, she quietly explained, "I'm only lending you the money because I can't stand Zhu Yuhu's arrogant attitude. I think highly of you, so even if you lose with dignity." "Thank you. I will definitely return twice the amount to you," Shifeng gratefully said. This money was very important to him. Now, Zhu Yuhu would definitely agree to the wager. After Shifeng obtained the membership card, he would be able to regularly train his body. It was better to start training earlier, rather than later. The earlier Shifeng could train his body, the larger the benefit it would have to his future. Zhao Ruoxi had helped him greatly this time. When he started earning money in God's domain, paying Zhao Ruoxi an extra 10,000 would even be considered too little. However, Zhao Ruoxi did not take Shifeng's words seriously. She only nodded with a smile. She did not think that Shifeng could return her money, not to mention double the amount. Ha ha ha. Interesting. Then let's draw out the contract at the fighting arena. Zhu Yuhu licked his lips. He was even more interested in Zhao Ruoxi now. Although his luck in God's domain was bad today, his luck in real life was truly good. Not only had he found a good-looking girl, but he could also receive 10,000 credits for teaching Shifeng a lesson. It truly was a blessing in disguise. Following which, everyone arrived at the fighting arena built by the school. Shifeng and Zhu Yuhu signed a contract under the supervision of the central brain. Contracts acknowledged by the central brain were also recognized by the law. There was also a judge at the fighting arena. The judge was normally a teacher in the university who taught students how to fight. The judge also had good skills that would be used to promptly stop the fights to avoid any heavy injuries from occurring. The other students from the class stood below the fighting ring. They laughed at Shifeng's stupidity. Instead of being an invisible existence like usual, he actually went insane now. Not only did he oppose Ling Feilong, but he also angered Zhu Yuhu, who was even more terrifying. After today, Shifeng might never live a peaceful life ever again. Qin Shuyu looked above the ring, at the calm and steady Shifeng. The feeling he gave people was completely different from before. He currently radiated an indescribable sense of security. She even felt Shifeng's scrawny body had grown larger. Qin Shuyu quickly shook her head, mockingly saying, "How strong could a weakling, who doesn't even know a single fighting technique, be? He even dares challenge Brother Hu now. He truly is reckless." Chapter 48, An Unequaled Fight. Chapter 48, An Unequaled Fight. None of the students below the ring had refuted Qin Shuyu's words. Instead, they felt her words made sense. No matter what was said, Zhu Yuhu was ranked third in the university's fighting tournament. He was also highly praised by several teachers who taught fighting. They predicted Zhu Yuhu would be able to create a reputation for himself in the upcoming city's fighting tournament, not to mention teaching the weak and scrawny Shifeng a lesson. It was like using a butcher's knife to kill a chicken. Even though he remains unyielding right now, I guess Shifeng will kneel and beg for mercy in a moment. Does that even need to be mentioned? Why don't you look at who Zhu Yuhu is? My guess is Shifeng will be lying on the floor within 10 seconds. The male students in the class started to laugh as they discussed Shifeng's end. What is wrong with you people? Is this how you treat a classmate of yours? Zhao Ruoxi asked, looking at her classmates with a furious expression. The students all turned silent. However, their eyes revealed a hint of disdain when they looked at Zhao Ruoxi. One of the gorgeously dressed girls in the class curled her lips in disdain, softly saying, "You just have somewhat good looks. If it wasn't for Brother Long, who do you think would listen to your words?" The other girls promptly nodded their heads. They were not taking their class monitor seriously at all. Although the female students spoke in soft tones, everyone present could hear them clearly. To the side, Ling Feilong felt invigorated as he enjoyed listening to their words. Zhao Ruoshi turned her head away in a rage, no longer paying attention to these people. Ling Feilong walked over to her and gently said, "Ruoshi, I know that you have no choice in this matter as the class monitor. However, Shifeng is the one finding trouble here, so you can't just blame everyone. Moreover, nobody believes Shifeng can win with that small body of his. You are literally throwing your money into the ocean. In a moment, I'll talk it over with brother Hu to not take your money and let Shifeng pay for everything. Indeed, I am helping Shifeng because I am the class monitor. However, regarding the matter with the money, I have never thought of asking for it back from him." Zhao Ruoshi glanced at Ling Feilong, coldly saying, "On the other hand, you're the one who has taken the recommendation that is rightfully Shifeng's. Instead of helping Shifeng now, you're here making cynical remarks. Aren't you afraid of people criticizing you behind your back? Also, how can this be considered trading pointers? One is ranked third in the school, while the other is a student who doesn't even know any fighting techniques. Do you not feel any shame when you speak of this?" Zhao Ruoshi's every word caused Ling Feilong piercing pain. In addition, her elegant and refined complexion gave off an indescribable sense of strength that struck at Ling Feilong's heart. Ling Feilong was speechless as he turned pale from anger. Just as Zhao Ruoshi had said, every class had a fixed number of spots for the recommendation. Only students with results amongst the top 20 in the class were qualified for this recommendation. However, Ling Feilong had managed to obtain the qualifications to participate in the city's fighting competition after much difficulty. If others were to know that he was a university student without a recommendation, it would be an absolute humiliation. The school had previously considered such reputational problems, as well. Hence, they had made it so that the top 5 contestants of the fighting tournament would receive a recommendation, even if their studies were not good. However, Ling Feilong was only 9th ranked, so naturally, he could not obtain it. Hence, he had suggested such a matter to the school. Seeing that Ling Feilong's results were in the top 30 of the class, not that far from the 20th place, the school had decided to agree to his request. However, the condition was someone had to willingly give up their recommendation. As for how he would get someone to give up their spot, that all depended on Ling Feilong himself. Shifeng was just a weakling. Originally, Ling Feilong had intended to utilize the collective intentions of the class, in addition to his own strength, to easily oppress Shifeng. Then, after giving Shifeng some benefits, this matter would be considered over. However, Shifeng's actions were completely different from what Ling Feilong had imagined they would be. Shifeng had not taken him seriously in the slightest and had threatened him without hesitation. Now, he was even ridiculed by Zhao Ruoshi. Ling Feilong's heart was currently filled with an inextinguishable wrath. Correct, this isn't an equal fight. However, can Shifeng blame others for being weak himself? Who was the one who agreed to this competition? Surely you can't blame me for this. Ling Feilong looked at Zhao Ruoshi with blood-red eyes. If Zhao Ruoshi did not have a beautiful appearance and attractive body, he would have long since sent a slap flying over. However, he endured it. Using force was definitely not a smart move. Moreover, Zhao Ruoshi's family background was not simple at all. If he caused an incident now, his entire life would be over. Also, when Ling Feilong thought about how he could toy with Zhao Ruoshi in the future, the rage in his heart calmed down slightly. "Brat, after making me take such a loss, just you wait and see," Ling Feilong glared at Shifeng, silently swearing. Above, in the fighting ring, Shifeng only smiled in disdain when he felt the hostility coming from Ling Feilong. However, he had to agree to one of Ling Feilong's words. This was indeed an uneven fight. In Shifeng's previous life, although his physique was not comparable to those first-rate fighters, he could still beat them into submission. The thing he relied on to win was the life-or-death battles in God's domain. What was a 100-battle hero? After living through 100 wars, it would be hard not to become an expert hero. It was the same with many martial artists. Their training usually involved pushing themselves to the edge, using the feeling of having their lives hanging by a thread to train and improve themselves. However, such a method was too dangerous. The average person would definitely not do such a thing. It was extremely easy to go overboard and lose their lives. After Shifeng went through extremely realistic life or death battles, the increase to his battle experience and techniques rapidly grew. His skills in battle even exceeded the national fighting competition standards by several levels. In 10 years' time, any reputable melee player in God's domain could easily defeat the current fighting champion of Jinhai City, not to mention Shifeng, who was once the captain of Shadow. In Shifeng's eyes, the university's fighting tournament was just like children playing house. Moreover, regarding physique, his current body exceeded his body 10 years later. Fighting would not be a problem, even if he had to face up to 5 or 6 Ling Feilongs. Brat, you sure are carefree to be looking around. Watch how I'll fix you up, Zhu Yuhu said, rushing at Shifeng. He immediately sent a slap towards Shifeng's face, intending to humiliate him first. Naturally, Shifeng could easily see through such an action. However, Shifeng stood unmoving even though he was facing off against someone much stronger than he was. Shifeng sent out a casual punch towards Zhu Yuhu's face, completely ignoring Zhu Yuhu's slap. Zhu Yuhu never imagined that Shifeng's fist would have such precision, aiming directly at his face. Instinctively, Zhu Yuhu had used his hands to block off this fist. Shifeng's lips curled upwards when he saw Zhu Yuhu's actions. With lightning speed, Shifeng's hand chopped towards Zhu Yuhu's neck. Zhu Yuhu failed to react in time as he received a chop to his neck. With the precision of a surgery blade, Shifeng's hand hacked at a major artery in Zhu Yuhu's neck. Suddenly, Zhu Yuhu felt his vision blurring. There was a sense of suffocating as Zhu Yuhu felt all his strength leaving his body. Shifeng did not give Zhu Yuhu time to catch his breath. Immediately, he sent another punch flying towards the side of Zhu Yuhu's abdomen. Zhu Yuhu wanted to block the attack, but his body refused to listen to his thoughts. He could only feel a stabbing pain in his intestines as a stream of yellowish liquid shot out from his mouth. Zhu Yuhu's vision became a blur. He could not cry out, even if he wanted to. Zhu Yuhu's body instinctively wished to fall, but Shifeng did not give him such a chance. Fist after fist landed on Zhu Yuhu's abdomen, followed by a few more landing on his ribs. After receiving a series of consecutive punches, the acidic juices in Zhu Yuhu's stomach had been completely drained out of his mouth. Then, his body fell to the ground like a dead dog. The entire arena suddenly became silent. Everything had happened all too quickly. It was so quick that not one person had even reacted. Only after Zhu Yuhu was laying on the ground, did the judge of the match finally react. Immediately, he declared the end of the fight and Shifeng, the winner of it. At the same time, he hurriedly ran over to Zhu Yuhu's side to check on him. The judge truly could not imagine it. Zhu Yuhu, the third-ranking student in the university's fighting competition, was not even a match for such a weak-looking youth. By no means was Zhu Yuhu too weak. Instead, the weak-looking youth was just too strong. After watching several of Zhu Yuhu's matches, the judge knew that he was very strong. At the very least, it would not be easy for the judge to deal with him. After looking at Zhu Yuhu's injuries, the judge was dumbfounded. Shifeng's techniques were just too horrifying. Every one of his moves was perfectly measured, breaking only 2 to 3 of Zhu Yuhu's ribs but not heavily injuring him. Zhu Yuhu only needed more than a month's time for his chest to heal up. Chapter 49 – A New Light. Chapter 49 – A New Light. Seeing Zhu Yuhu unmoving on the ground, it was clear he had lost consciousness. The teacher then reported that Zhu Yuhu had no major injuries, and he would wake up in a moment. However, his injuries still needed to be tended to. Also, he had to rest for more than a month. As for the city's fighting competition that would be held in 3 weeks, Zhu Yuhu could forget about joining. Everyone's sights shifted toward Shifeng. They looked at his thin and weak body, sucking in a cold breath when they recalled the explosive and terrifying strength it was capable of displaying. When they thought about the words they said to Shifeng before, cold sweat started pouring out from their backs without stop. Currently, the expression in the male students' eyes as they looked at Shifeng had completely changed. There was no longer any ridicule or contempt contained within them. Instead, there was a deep fear. The third-ranking student in the school was actually defeated in a single exchange. Who else could become Shifeng's opponent? If Shifeng wished to take care of them, the consequences they would face would be unimaginable. On the other hand, they had actually dared to gift Shifeng's recommendation to Ling Feilong. Thinking up to this point, the hearts of the hot-blooded warriors from before started to beat madly. Under the Central Brain's witness, Shifeng received the membership card for the Big Dipper Training Center and 10,000 credits. Following which, he circled a glance at the people below the ring. When a few of the less courageous male students were met with Shifeng's deep and profound eyes, their legs suddenly turned weak as they lost consciousness, foam appearing at their mouths. "Teacher, not good. Little Liu has fainted." Before this sentence could finish being said, another male student lay flat on the ground. Meanwhile, the male students that remained standing started becoming scared in their hearts. Shifeng was just too terrifying. He actually shocked 2 male students into unconsciousness just by looking them in the eye. However, they were also envious of the 2 that lost consciousness. If they had fainted over, they wouldn't have to bear such a pressure right now. Currently, the air surrounding them was still, as if frozen. Breathing was starting to become a difficulty for them, and even their limbs felt heavy as if they were filled with lead. As for the female students in the class, they were all dumbfounded. Their heads quickly lowered when they saw Shifeng looking over. They felt uncomfortable throughout their bodies as if they were frightened rabbits that were being stared at by a big grey wolf. Qin Shuyu's delicate mouth widened. She rubbed her eyes, verifying what she saw over and over. Only then did she understand that Zhu Yuhu was struck unconscious by Shifeng. Shifeng was just too powerful. Why had she never discovered so before? If she could be with a man such as this, her sense of security would be off the charts. Just thinking about it had made her happy. As for money, that would not be a problem. Just based on his strength alone, Shifeng could definitely get into the city's fighting tournament. Entering into the top 10 would also not be a problem. When that time came, there would definitely be many requests for him to become a celebrity spokesperson. When Qin Shuyu saw that Shifeng was looking over, she slightly tidied up her clothes and hair, appearing neat and moving. She also revealed deep cleavage, feebly saying, "Brother Feng, it's noon already. I know a good restaurant that has a great environment and good tasting food. I'll treat you, so let's go there and have a try." However, Shifeng did not pay Qin Shuyu any attention. Instead, he was looking for Zhao Ruoshi. When he found Zhao Ruoshi, he immediately walked over, completely ignoring Qin Shuyu. Seeing Shifeng's cold and indifferent eyes, Qin Shuyu suddenly felt she had lost something very important. It was as if a knife stabbing at her heart. She regretted being blind and foolish when she was in high school. "Class monitor, here's your 10,000 credits. I'll repay the remaining 10,000 credits as fast as I can." Shifeng handed the money over, speaking with a calm smile. However, Zhao Ruoshi would not receive it. She blinked her attractive eyes as she looked at Shifeng as if she was looking at an exotic animal. There was both shock and joy contained within them. "Are you really Shifeng?" Zhao Ruoshi asked in a quiet and uncertain tone. Throughout Zhao Ruoshi's 4 years in university, her impression of Shifeng was one of an introvert. He was often bullied by others. He also appeared very prideful, never receiving help from others. He was like an injured little wolf, licking his own wounds, alone. She had never imagined Shifeng's actions today would have such a great difference from before. She now viewed Shifeng in a completely new light. Shifeng had turned from being a little wolf into a slumbering dragon. He was unassuming when slumbering, but amazing when he took action. Even Zhao Yuhu, the third-ranking student in the entire university, was no match for him. If he had entered the school's fighting tournament, he might have already become the champion by now. "Of course I am Shifeng. Class monitor, why would you ask such a question? Could it be that I am just too handsome and different from my previous appearance?" Shifeng joked. He naturally understood Zhao Ruoshi's thoughts. He had attracted too much attention today. However, even Shifeng himself did not wish for such a situation to occur. The developments up to this point were all unintentional. "TCH, don't get cocky. You are just barely able to enter my eyes." Zhao Ruoshi immediately snatched the money from Shifeng, her fair and delicate face revealing a calm smile. As if she had thought of something, she quietly said, the fellowship party hosted by the university is in 10 days. There will also be the upper echelons of well-known corporations in Jinhai City attending the party. Aren't you trying to find a profitable career? This is a good chance, so you should consider attending. The moment Zhao Ruoshi finished speaking, she thought of Shifeng's financial situation. He definitely did not have the money to attend the party. Hence, she quietly said, as for the fee required to participate in the fellowship party, I can pay it for you. Shifeng gave Zhao Ruoshi's words some thought. The fellowship party hosted by Jinhai University annually was a big event, and that person might even participate in this party. Hence, Shifeng nodded his head in agreement, saying, thank you, class monitor. I'll go. As for the participation fee, I'll pay that myself. Zhao Ruoshi was slightly glad when she heard Shifeng agreeing to go. However, there was an indescribable sense of disappointment when she heard Shifeng saying that he would pay the participation fee on his own. The conversation between the two was also heard by everyone else. However, everyone doubted their hearing when they heard their class monitor, Zhao Ruoshi, actively invite Shifeng to the fellowship party. She was even willing to pay for his participation fee. Zhao Ruoshi was a truly beautiful woman, only, she normally made no efforts to enhance her looks with makeup. Her clothing was also very common. However, it was still unable to mask her elegant and refined face and exquisite body. As long as she dressed herself up somewhat, even the school's top beauty might not be her match. Hence, there were quite a few rich and influential men who tried pursuing Zhao Ruoshi. However, every one of them was rejected. Ling Feilong was the only one who had managed to shorten the distance between them after much difficulty. However, it was only to the degree of getting Zhao Ruoshi to treat him somewhat better. Zhao Ruoshi's pridefulness was clear to behold. Now, however, Zhao Ruoshi had actively invited Shifeng. It was an absolutely jaw-dropping scene. With such a beauty inviting them, who could refuse? However, Shifeng had tactfully rejected Zhao Ruoshi's kind intentions. By the side, the wrathful flame in Ling Feilong's heart burned madly as he listened in on the two's conversation. Shifeng, one must properly know one's own worth. There will be many great figures of Jinhai City attending the fellowship party. Just based on the clothes you are wearing, the security might even chase you away. At that time, you'll embarrass everyone in our class, Ling Feilong mockingly said. You don't have to worry about this point, fellow student Ling Feilong. Shifeng turned to look at Ling Feilong. He pointed towards the ring, a cold glint flashing past his eyes as he coldly said, on the contrary, didn't you say you wanted to teach me how to become a proper person before? This place is the fighting arena, so why don't we exchange some pointers? Teach me how to become a proper person. Shifeng. You. Don't get ahead of yourself. I am only following the suggestion of the entire class, Ling Feilong stuttered as he looked at Shifeng with hesitant eyes. He suddenly felt chills throughout his body, inadvertently retreating a step back. Having him exchange pointers with Shifeng was just digging his own grave. For those who have never participated in a fighting competition, they would not be able to know the true meaning and horror of the exchange between Shifeng and Zhu Yuhu. Zhu Yuhu was very powerful, and even Ling Feilong himself knew he was definitely not a match to Zhu Yuhu. However, Zhu Yuhu was still dispatched by Shifeng within a moment. This fight could not even be considered a proper fight. It was just a one-sided play. The suggestion of the entire class? Shifeng swept a glance towards his classmates standing to the side, coldly saying, "What were your suggestions?" Naturally, everyone would not stand on Ling Feilong's side. Even an idiot could tell how afraid Ling Feilong was of Shifeng. Fine, I admit defeat. It was I who was blind. You tell me what's to be done. Ling Feilong looked above the ring at the unconscious Zhu Yuhu, gritting his teeth while saying, if he were to come into conflict with Shifeng right now, he would not have any chance of resisting. He also did not believe that Shifeng would show mercy. If he had continued offending Shifeng, he would definitely be laying on a hospital bed for at least a month. When that time came, he would not be able to even participate in the city's fighting tournament, and such a loss was not something he was willing to bear. The 5,000 credits voucher for the Big Dipper Training Center awarded by the school, Shifeng demanded. The Big Dipper had the best nutritionist in Jinhai City. With this voucher, Shifeng could replenish the nutrients required by his body and quickly improve his physique. Ling Feilong was extremely unwilling to give away the Big Dipper voucher. This was an item that could not be bought outside, even with 10,000 credits. After receiving the voucher, Shifeng left the fighting arena. Shifeng started training his body immediately after returning to his rented apartment. After tiring himself out, he looked for information related to God's domain and Jinhai City on the internet. He was making ample preparations for his future development plan. It was especially true for the fellowship party this time around. He had to prepare sufficient information before the fellowship started. Otherwise, it would be too hard to carry out his plan. When noon came, Shifeng ate his lunch and lay on the bed. He wore his virtual gaming helmet, starting his second day in God's domain. Chapter 50, The Popular Garrison Armor. Chapter 50, The Popular Garrison Armor. Dark clouds hovered over the skies of Red Leaf Town, surrounding the full moon that hung in midair. On the streets, magic lamps brightly lit up the town. Shifeng had just logged in. It was still nighttime in God's domain. A majority of the players were currently in the trade area, making the place very crowded. There were only a scant few experts who would hunt for monsters to level up at this time of day. During the daytime, the street of the trade area was desolate. However, that street had currently turned into a bazaar, bustling with noise and excitement. Players could be seen setting up stalls throughout the wide cobblestone street, and above their white sheets of cloth were some items required by auxiliary jobs and also a few pieces of common equipment. Buyers and sellers were bargaining with each other, and some faces even turned crimson over 1 or 2 coppers. System: the garrison armor you have placed on auction has been sold. After deducting the processing fees, a total of 5 silvers 31 coppers has been added to your inventory. System: the garrison armor you have placed on auction has been sold. After deducting the processing fees, a total of 5 silvers 67 coppers has been added to your inventory. System: the garrison armor you have placed on auction has been sold. After deducting the processing fees, a total of 5 silvers 98 coppers has been added to your inventory. Before Shifeng had taken a step forward, a series of auction house notifications from the system entered his ears. Shifeng casually selected the system notifications to appear, immediately becoming shocked. The garrison armor's value had totally exceeded Shifeng's estimates. Originally, Shifeng intended to have it sold for, more or less, 5 silvers. In reality, however, due to the competition in price growing fiercer, the garrison armor reached a maximum price of 6 silvers 42 coppers. The 11 garrison armors sold for a total of over 67 silver coins. The amount immediately turned Shifeng into the owner of a gold coin. He had become a goldainaire. At the current phase of the game, the purchasing power of a single silver coin was astonishing. For a second-rate guild, their circulating funds would only amount to 60 or 70 silver coins. To properly develop their normal members during the initial periods of the game, the guilds were unable to stock up on too many copper coins. Such an action would only hamper the guild's future development. As for first-rate guilds, their circulating funds might only be around 1 gold coin. However, these funds would seem insignificant when it was used on tens or hundreds of people. Now, Shifeng was a true tycoon. After a day of battle, a majority of the players were currently returning to town with their spoils of war. These players carried a lot of materials on their persons, and naturally, Shifeng would not let this chance get away. Shifeng casually chose a location with few people, setting his white cloth on the ground and starting up his stall to purchase materials. The highest leveled player right now should be at level 4, whereas the average player was still at level 2 and expert players at level 3. Hence, the materials they sold varied greatly. There were high-ranking goods, and there were also common goods. The current prices for high-ranking materials were very expensive, so Shifeng would naturally not buy them. Shifeng relied solely on himself to make the garrison armor, so the money he could earn was limited. However, Shifeng was just selling these pieces of equipment to accumulate some funds. Only when he had the funds could he earn more money. Buying magic essence, 6 coppers a stack, Stones, 10 coppers a stack. Also buying hard stones, 23 coppers a stack, Shifeng shouted. After hearing Shifeng's words, the players on the street crowded around him, one after another. Boss, I have 10 stacks of stones. How many stacks do you want? I have 6 stacks of magic essence. Do you want all of them? I have a stack of hard stones. After grinding in the wild for an entire day, magic essences and stones had become materials that polluted the street. Normally, players would sell these materials to NPCs or save them up for practicing their own auxiliary jobs. However, materials such as hard stones were very rare. They were usually found in level 3 areas, only being dropped by kobolds or little rock monsters. There were 20 pieces of hard stones in a stack, and they were worth 20 coppers when sold to NPCs. Hard stones were used in forging, however, it was quite luxurious to use them at this stage of the game. Guilds very rarely purchased hard stones, so their prices were not very high. However, they would have a great purpose once players reached level 7. There were many special monsters in the level 7 monster areas, and it was extremely taxing on the durability of a weapon to fight against these monsters. A weapon would break when its durability reached 0. Once a weapon was broken, the chance of successfully repairing it was only around 20%. If failed, it would turn into scrap. Meanwhile, hard stones could be used to make whetstones. When used on a weapon, it could temporarily increase its damage. More importantly, it could recover a weapon's durability by 5 to 10 points. With the whetstone, players did not have to return to town just to repair their weapons, saving them a lot of time and also increasing their monster grinding efficiency. In Shifeng's previous life, hard stones were sold with extreme popularity. The price of whetstones increased with even greater speed, allowing many forgers to make a hefty profit. To quickly increase their levels and gain an advantage, Shadow Guild had also been butchered by those sharks. They could only grit their teeth as they bought the whetstones. In this life, it was Shifeng's turn to make a huge profit. He was going to stock up these hard stones in advance. After purchasing materials for over an hour, Shifeng had a total of 80 stacks of magic essence and 120 stacks of stones. As for hard stones, Shifeng had only collected 12 stacks of them, a very small amount. Shifeng's bag was quickly filled. He had no choice but to make a trip to the bank's warehouse to store all these items. The bank's warehouse had a fixed space of 500 slots. Expanding the warehouse's space for the first time would give an additional 500 slots at the cost of 20 coppers. The second time was 1,000 slots for 50 coppers. Afterward, every 1,000 slots would cost 1 silver coin, and every additional 1,000 slots would result in a management fee of 10 copper coins per week. Currently, such an amount of money was nothing to Shifeng. Immediately, Shifeng expanded 3,000 slots, and in the future, he would have to pay a processing fee of 30 coppers every week. After storing all the materials, Shifeng ran towards the auction house. The auction house linked together all the small towns under the influence of White River City. Although there were few people who sold common materials here, there would surely still be some people who sold hard stones. Only, the prices they set were slightly higher. However, players would have no choice but to buy whetstones for their weapons when they reached level 7. So, Shifeng wasn't concerned about the loss of money. After arriving at the auction house, Shifeng discovered a very peculiar situation. There were quite a lot of logistics members of guilds present at the auction house. Each and every one of them were standing guard at the auction house, and it was a wonder what they were actually waiting for. Shifeng randomly chose a place to sit down, calling out the operating panel of the auction house. Just when Shifeng was searching for hard stones, he heard a few logistics members of guilds complaining to each other. How long more do we have to wait? Why is that garrison armor still not showing up? Let me buy it so I can report back. You've only waited for 3 hours. I've already been waiting here for more than 10 hours. You haven't seen the intensity of the competition for the garrison armor. I've heard, because of this garrison armor, there were quite a few guilds who were able to kill many wild special elites, reaping astonishing gains. There was even a guild that managed to obtain quite a few pieces of equipment and skill books, thanks to the garrison armor. So, everyone is here to fight over it. Unfortunately, The remaining few pieces of garrison armor have all been bought. Exactly. Our guild is currently regretting it dearly. If we had known how greatly we would fall behind to those guilds, we would have bought the garrison armor, even if we had to pay 7 silver coins for one. Now, the higher-ups have already given the order. As long as the garrison armor appears, we definitely must buy it. During the discussion held by the logistic members, Shifeng was also surprised by the speed of the garrison armor achieving his desired effect. Hence, Shifeng took out the remaining 7 garrison armor that possessed defensive power. He stealthily placed them on auction, setting the base price for each piece at 8 silver coins, 2 silver coins higher than his original estimation. However, these guilds should be able to accept such a price. As for the best garrison heavy armor, Shifeng would only sell it after a period of time has passed. He would first let these guilds slowly digest the current garrison armor. After placing the equipment on auction, Shifeng started searching for hard stones. Shifeng wondered if there were many players who had auctioned them off. Chapter 51 – Competition at the Auction House. Chapter 51 – Competition at the Auction House. Shifeng called out the search panel, immediately entering the words hard stone. Suddenly, rows of information appeared on the semi-transparent screen. In a single glance, Shifeng could see over 100 stacks of hard stones being sold. There were many players selling them. When Shifeng saw a stack of hard stones selling for 1 gold coin, he felt such a player must have been driven insane by poverty. Immediately, Shifeng filtered the display to show prices from lowest to highest. After adjusting the display, the cheapest stack of hard stones still cost 26 coppers. After deducting the processing fees of the auction house, players could still receive 25 coppers. As expected, the prices were a lot higher than normal. However, Shifeng still had to buy them. He could afford them as long as the price was below 30 coppers. Suddenly, the number of hard stones available on the auction house had been reduced by a large half. The remaining ones were all selling for 30 coppers and above, and there was no spendthrift who would buy them. After looking at hard stones, Shifeng casually took at the miscellaneous section. Shifeng's eyes abruptly shone. There were actually card sets. Moreover, there was a large number of them. There was some chance for monsters to drop these card sets, however, the drop rate for it was extremely low. There was not even a 10,000 to 1 chance for one to drop. Monsters below level 10 were able to drop 12 card sets, and they were divided into 2 ranks, Bronze rank and Mysterious Iron rank. Warriors had Steel, Crusaders, and Insanity. Weapons specialists had Chaos, Vengeance, and Hurricane. Healers had Divine, Nature, and Noble. Mags had Element, Fool, and Demon. These 12 card sets each represented the 12 different jobs. Every set had 9 cards in them, and each card had a number behind them. As long as a player could gather a complete set, they could exchange it for a piece of set equipment for the respective job. Back in those days, a majority of the players did not know what these card sets were for. Moreover, there was no introduction for these card sets. Players, at that time, simply kept these card sets in their bags or sold them at the auction house. Only when the normal mode of the 50-man level 10 dungeon near the city was cleared, did these players discovered there was actually an NPC that would trade for these card sets. Depending on the rank of the card sets, they could be traded for either bronze or mysterious iron set equipment. These set equipment were absolutely marvelous. A bronze set of equipment could rival an entire regular set of mysterious iron equipment, whereas a mysterious iron set of equipment could rival an entire regular set of secret silver equipment. So, these card sets that nobody cared about before suddenly turned ragingly popular overnight. Every card was sold at an astronomical price. Even so, many guilds were still frantic over them, constantly purchasing them. Meanwhile, there were hundreds of card sets currently displayed in front of Shifeng, yet there was actually nobody who wanted them. Each card was being sold at no more than 5 coppers, and even the maximum was 7 coppers. Shifeng bought them clean without hesitation. Shifeng did not think much of the cost. What's more, they would not increase in value even if he had left them in his bag. Using the money to grow money, now that was the way of the king. After Shifeng was finished with collecting hard stones and card sets, he was left with no more than 14 silver coins. Following which, Shifeng searched for skill books through the search panel. To determine a player's strength in God's domain, other than looking at their equipment, the number of skills they had learned was another factor. If a player possessed many skills, they could have a large variety of attack patterns to use in battle. An expert swordsman could usually utilize more than 20 skills in battle, whereas first-rate experts could use more than 40 skills in battle. As for the top-tier experts, they did not need to be mentioned. Shifeng was a first-rate expert, yet he possessed less than 10 skills. His condition was truly pathetic. However, there were very few skill books currently being sold. Under normal circumstances, players would usually use skill books on themselves or trade them for a skill they were able to use. Shifeng went through more than 10 pages in one go. As long as he saw a skill usable by swordsmen, he immediately bought them. When Shifeng arrived at the final page, his mind turned blank. Are you kidding me? Even defensive blade is being sold? Shifeng went wild with joy. The defensive blade was a swordsman's powerhouse skill. It was also a surekill skill when dealing with mags. However, the skill also had a damnable drop rate. Even in his previous life, Shifeng only managed to get his hands on the skill after he was well over level 40. Shifeng truly did not imagine he would be able to see it now. Although the selling price was slightly high, 6 silvers was still acceptable to Shifeng. Shifeng immediately placed a bid of 7 silver coins, not wanting to waste too much time. Very quickly, Shifeng bought the skill for 7 silver coins. With the current purchasing power of 7 silver coins, Shifeng could buy 5 to 6 basic skill books. However, Shifeng spent them all on defensive blade without batting an eyelid. In addition to buying the rare skill, defensive blade, Shifeng also purchased 3 common skills, observing eyes, windwalk, and earth splitter. On another note, while Shifeng was joyous over his purchase, the situation at the auction house started turning frantic. The logistic members of the various guilds were all crimson to their ears, their rage soaring to the skies. Crap, 9 silver coins still isn't enough to get this equipment. Which rich guild is it that bade 10 silver coins? You animals, why don't you take a look at my side? Someone's already bid 10 silvers and 65 coppers. These people are absolutely insane. I've only brought 10 silver coins with me. What should I do now that I can't complete my task? Abominable. They're hiding their names and placing only these few pieces of equipment on auction. How can I even snatch one? These people were the logistics members of unrated guilds. They were on the brink of insanity when they saw the larger guilds bid, each higher than the other. The most abominable person, however, was the creator of the equipment. Every time, this person only auctioned a few pieces of equipment. Previously, the competition over the equipment was already sufficiently intense. However, the garrison armor being auctioned right now had even better attributes, and their numbers were even less. The money they brought along to bid was absolutely insufficient, so how were they going to fight for the equipment? It can't be, right? Are there that many tycoons? Someone actually bid 11 silvers. Shifeng's joy reached the tips of his brows when he looked at how the garrison armor's price continuously increased. Within moments, the money he spent before had all been recovered, to the extent that it was more than before. Suddenly, Shifeng thought of the defensive blade. The average player definitely had no chance of obtaining such a rare skill for swordsmen, whereas guilds would not sell it, even if they obtained it. The skill must have been sold by a certain guild to collect funds to buy the garrison armor. It's just that their actions once again benefited Shifeng. Within moments, all 7 garrison armors had their prices increased past 11 silvers. Such a price shocked even Shifeng himself. Where did so many powerful guilds suddenly come from? With the financial resources of such guilds, they ought to not spend that much money on a piece of bronze equipment. However, what Shifeng did not know was, after he had placed the garrison armors on auction, the logistics members of various large guilds reported the situation back to their guild leaders. Previously, these guild leaders saw the MT of other guilds tanking special elites with the garrison armor. These MTS were able to allow the other players to attack the special elites with ease, obtaining various skill books and bronze equipment, mysterious iron equipment even. At such a sight, the eyes of these guild leaders had long since turned red with envy. Unfortunately, they had no solutions to this matter. They wished to let the lifestyle players of their own respective guilds forge this equipment, yet they did not have the forging design for it. They also wished to contact the player who had forged these garrison armors, yet this player had hidden his name, preventing any means of contact. Their only choice was to watch on, helplessly. Now, however, the garrison armor, this time, even possessed defensive power. They definitely must buy it. Hence, these guilds started gathering funds immediately. Do you hear me? You definitely must get it. Immediately bid 13 silver coins. I want to see who else dares to bid. What? Is it already at 13 silvers? Bid 13 silvers 50 coppers. I don't believe there is a guild that is wealthier than us. There were over 100 towns under the influence of White River City, and there were hundreds of guilds continuously bidding for the garrison armor. After half an hour, all 7 garrison armors were auctioned off, with the lowest being sold at 14 silvers 60 coppers. Shifeng earned more than 1 gold coin in an instant. Seeing how fervent these people were, Shifeng took the chance to place the garrison heavy armor on auction, setting its starting price at 16 silver coins. Following which, Shifeng left the auction house. It was still night, and there was about half an hour before sunrise. It was very unwise to go out and level right now, so Shifeng went to the library in Red Leaf Town first. He wanted to have a better understanding of the diary, which contained elvish words he obtained from the hell mode of the Deathly Forest. He might even obtain a new find. Chapter 52, Holy Sister. Chapter 52, Holy Sister. The journey to Red Leaf Town's library was very dangerous. If a normal player went there was a 30% chance for that person to die once. As for the remaining 70%, he would die many times. Hence, before heading to the library, Shifeng stored all the hard stones and the Philosopher's Stone into the bank. The Philosopher's Stone would drop after death. If Shifeng had unexpectedly died on the way to the library, then it would be a major loss. Following which, Shifeng took out the 4 skill books he bought previously and chose to learn them. Observing eyes. Able to see clearly unknown and concealed targets. There is a fixed chance to detect target's weak point. Cooldown, 40 seconds. Wind walk. The user is wrapped in wind, movement speed increased by 30%. There is a 50% chance to avoid damage from ranged attacks. Duration of 10 seconds. Cooldown, 2 minutes. Earth Splitter. Requires sword. Causes 30 base damage to target after use, and based on the period of charging power between 0.2 seconds to 3 seconds, a maximum of 300% weapon damage can be increased. Attack range of 8 yards. Cooldown, 1 minute. Defensive blade. Requires sword. Normal attacks range increased by 10 yards after use. Able to block up to a maximum of 6 ranged attacks or 3 melee attacks. Duration of 25 seconds. Cooldown, 3 minutes. With these new skills, Shifeng's survivability and attack potential greatly increased. Thus, the danger of him going to the library was no longer great. Red Leaf Town's library was distanced far from the trade area. It was located in Red Leaf Town's slums. The slums were the second most popular location after the trade area. There were all sorts of people there, and it was a place where crooks mixed with the honest folk. It was also the favorite visiting location of some players, and this was due to the slum's alternative name, Paradise of the Fallen. The moment Shifeng entered the domain of this paradise, from the corners of the street, he discovered eyes filled with greed directed at him. These were the rats hidden in the darkness, the ones unaccepted by the light, and the wanderers of hell's boundaries. There was bound to be a portion of players in God's domain that was different from ordinary person. They were neither interested in conquering dungeons, nor were they interested in the excitement that came from adventuring and risking oneself. The only thing these players were interested in was banditry. They would kill other players and plunder their equipment. Then, they would sell it to others for a high price, making a bountiful amount of money. During daytime, these players would hunt for and plunder the players with good equipment. At night, they would return to the slums to dispose of their stolen goods, then party with the money they just earned. They would brag about their harvest to display their own strength, using the chance to elevate their position in the slums. Ordinary players would never set foot in this place. If they did not possess sufficient strength, the only result would be a return via death. The reason being this location was not protected by the guards. Shifeng simply glanced at the players hidden at the corners of the street. He discovered the indicators for all of these players were colored red. It was clear to see that they had done many kill and plunder deeds. Within God's domain, red players were not allowed to enter guarded areas. The equipment drop rate upon death for these players were also increased, and the penalty for death may be increased up to a maximum of 300%. Moreover, they would be apprehended and jailed by the guards if they were to enter guarded areas, and the duration they were jailed depended on their crime value. However, even with all these disadvantages, there were still many players who had chosen to go down this path. After all, the rewards came very quickly this way. Red players also had a place they could stay in Red Leaf Town. For example, the slums. Moreover, if one wished to receive a good quest in the slums, one had to be a yellow player or even a red player. Regarding these players who lived on the edge of a knife, Shifeng paid no attention to them. He immediately headed towards the main road of the slums. On both sides of the street, there were quite a few flirty ladies dressed in revealing clothes. When they noticed the clothing Shifeng was dressed in, they started flinging coquettish glances at his direction. They wanted to spend a pleasant night with Shifeng, earning some coin along the way. "Little brother, are you here for some fun? Come over here to Big Sister. Big Sister guarantees that you will have a pleasant night." An alluring lady dressed in vibrant red leather clothing blocked Shifeng's way. Shifeng immediately used observing eyes. Charlin, elite rank. Level 8. HP 1200. Ha ha ha, Charlin, you're trying to sneak a bite again. How can you not invite us to such a happy occasion? A group of robust and fiendish men walked over, each of them carrying a cold grin on their faces. Is this a robbery? Shifeng took a look at his surroundings, calmly asking. He discovered himself already surrounded by NPCs. There were also a few red players by the corner of a broken house, sneers on their faces. In God's domain, it was very common for players to be robbed by NPCs. Moreover, it was also not Shifeng's first time being robbed by NPCs. The incident that left the deepest impression on him was when he was at Creation Mountain Range. It was there that he was robbed by an NPC warlord. At that time, Shifeng could only helplessly pay out a road toll. Currently, before him, there was a level 8 elite NPC in addition to a group of level 7 common NPCs. It was a scene very commonly to the slums, but Shifeng had nobody to blame but himself for coming to this place. "Brat, since you look like an upright person, we won't trouble you too much. Hand out 5 silver coins, and we'll let you pass. Otherwise, we'll personally take action," a scarred man said with a sneer. "Then come over here and get it," Shifeng sneered as he pulled out the abyssal blade. "If you were to pay the road toll, then congratulations. Not only would you lose your money, but you also had to lose your life. You would lose at least a piece of equipment that was on your person." This was the reason why normal players had a 30% chance of dying once in the slums. If you wanted these NPCs that wandered the boundaries of darkness to uphold their promise, there was definitely something broken with your brain. Charlin's attractive face revealed a trace of malevolence. "Brat, you are courting death," a level 7 blade-wielding man rushed at Shifeng. Shifeng stabbed the abyssal blade towards the man without hesitation. Double chop, chop, thundering flash, earth splitter. Sword slash after sword slash pierced through the man's neck and heart. With a body fully geared with bronze equipment, combined with the abyssal blade's attack power, Shifeng's attacks had immediately reduced the man's 750 HP down to 0. "Still want to continue?" Shifeng glanced at the surrounding NPCs, sneering. The NPCs were all shocked by Shifeng. They all parted and gave way to Shifeng, one after another. Meanwhile, The players hiding in a corner were also shocked. Shifeng had killed off a level 7 NPC in just a few moves. This player was just too strong. Naturally, these players would not find trouble with a player whom they knew was strong. In the slums, strength was everything. Stealthily, these players left the scene of the incident. Only Charlene stayed behind with an interested expression. "Little brother, you are really powerful. You've made Big Sister truly admire you. I wonder where you are headed. Big Sister can guide you there and save you a lot of trouble, whereas you only have to pay a very small price." Charlene walked towards Shifeng, offering with a calm smile. "No need to trouble yourself. I'm familiar with the way to the library." Shifeng did not wish to get entangled with these NPCs. He only wished to search for clues regarding the Elven Diary. Charlene smiled with even more joy when she heard Shifeng decline. "I am the librarian, Charlene. You can ask me matters regarding the library. There is no one more familiar with it than myself." Charlene puffed out her prided twin peaks, smiling sweetly. "Isn't Red Leaf Town's librarian a holy sister?" Shifeng did not believe her. "Oh, are you talking about this?" Charlene took out a set of nun's clothing and changed into it within an instant. Suddenly, her wild demeanor completely vanished. She was like an angel that had descended to the world, incomparably divine. Her presence made others desire repentance before her. At the same time, the information that Charlene displayed had changed. Holy Sister Charlene, Divine Official. Level 20. HP 10,000,10,000. Shifeng was also shocked. What kind of situation was this? Even NPCs had a side job. Chapter 53, Darkness Descends. Chapter 53, Darkness Descends. Shifeng was still slightly unable to accept Charlene's makeover. However, Shifeng could be considered lucky for being able to meet the rumored librarian. According to the information he knew, the librarian of Red Leaf Town was full of mystery, her whereabouts unknown. Shifeng never imagined the librarian to be the female NPC who participated in a robbery against him. If Shifeng had truly started a fight with Charlene just now, the consequences would be unimaginable. What did playing the pig to eat the tiger mean? Charlene was definitely a veteran in this field. Divine Official was the Tier 3 job advancement for an oracle. In the case of swordsman, it was called Sword King, whereas between these two was the Sword Master. Even if a Divine Official was only level 20, she could still easily dispatch a level 50 lord. Perhaps, Charlene was the most powerful NPC in all of Red Leaf Town. "Hehe, do you believe me now?" Charlene giggled at Shifeng. Her entire body radiated a golden glow as if she were the reincarnation of Mother Mary. "Since you have some business with me, let's talk about it at the library." System. Player has activated the epic quest, Darkness Descends. Contents unknown. Shifeng stumbled suddenly when he heard the system notification, nearly falling. What was the reason for him to actually trigger this epic quest? Darkness Descends was the famous epic quest of God's domain. From the information he collected from the internet and Shadow, the difficulty for completing this epic quest was truly unimaginable. Of course, the rewards were also unimaginably bountiful. In Shifeng's previous life, the person who completed this epic quest was the Spirit Emperor, Fantasy Extinguisher. He was a legendary character amongst summoners. He was globally ranked within the top 20 summoners and top 500 in the entire game during the peak of God's domain. Although he was only ranked within the top 500 within God's domain, it should not be looked down upon. The entire world had a total population of 100 billion. Although there were only 100 million players in God's domain currently, this number would increase past 10 billion in a year. In 3 years, the number of players playing God's domain would go past 30 billion. Being able to rank within the top 500, Fantasy Extinguisher was definitely an amazing expert. However, the thing that made Shifeng feel odd was why this epic quest was found here. Fantasy Extinguisher's starting location was not in Star Moon Kingdom. Instead, it was in Black Dragon Empire, which was far from Star Moon Kingdom. Black Dragon Empire was far more powerful than Star Moon Kingdom. Its landmass was 3 times that of Star Moon Kingdom's. The competition between players and guilds there was much fiercer. Could it be a reward for getting the first clear on the hell mode of a dungeon? Shifeng silently guessed as he followed Charlin. He felt it was a great possibility. Otherwise, why would an epic quest that should be found in Black Dragon Empire be found here in Starmoon Kingdom? At this moment, Shifeng's system communication rang. Shifeng took a look at the caller, learning it was Gentle Snow contacting him. Miss Snow, do you have business with me? Seeing that you're logged on, I have something to tell you. Gentle Snow spoke in a very indifferent tone. She was like mysterious ice, unchanging even after 10,000 years and had no interest towards anything at all. I'm in need of money to purchase something, so I might need more time to return the 15 silvers that I owe you. At the latest, I will return it to you by the end of today. All right. If you are really in a bind, tomorrow is fine as well, Shifeng calmly replied. He no longer paid any heed to the 15 silver coins Gentle Snow owed him. Currently, he had more than 1 gold coin on his person, and he was troubled over how to spend it. Gentle Snow was slightly surprised by Shifeng's indifference even toward that much money. However, since Shifeng had already said so, naturally, she would not be courteous to him. She softly thanked him, saying, "Thank you. However, aren't you afraid I won't return it, causing you to lose everything? You are the snow goddess. Why would you even try to cheat an average player of such a small amount of money?" Shifeng said with a grin. Average? You dare call yourself average? Even I am shocked by the map and strategy you provided. We only spent an hour to clear the normal mode of the Deathly Forest, then went on to clear hard mode as well. Unfortunately, hell mode is just too hard. We could not clear it, no matter what. Gentle Snow faintly smiled, saying, "I am very curious as to how you all managed to clear hell mode. If you said it was due to your party members' help, I would not believe you. To conquer the hell mode of the Deathly Forest, she especially rushed over elite members of Ouroboros from other towns. However, they couldn't get past the first chieftain rank boss, Willy, no matter what they did. Willy's damage was especially terrifying. Even a shield warrior fully equipped with bronze equipment could not tank it. Gentle Snow truly could not understand how Shifeng's party had cleared hell mode. Just lucky, Shifeng honestly said. Since you don't want to say it, I still have to fight over a piece of equipment, so I won't speak with you any longer. Don't forget our dungeon appointment. Gentle Snow did not continue pursuing Shifeng about how he was able to clear hell mode. Just hard mode alone gave them a great harvest. Fight over equipment. Is it the garrison heavy armor? Shifeng casually asked. Ian, how did you know? Are you also fighting for this equipment? Gentle Snow nodded her head while saying, "The attributes for this garrison heavy armor was too great. If they had this piece of equipment, there would not be much trouble when they entered the level 3 Wolfman dungeon." Shifeng knew he had said too much, but he remained calm as he replied, "Yes, but I didn't think there would be that many people competing for it. I've already given up on it by now." Indeed. The price has already reached 23 silver coins, and only a guild with strong funding will be able to buy it. I won't speak with you any longer. I still need to sell some items. Gentle Snow disconnected the call after finishing her piece. Meanwhile, Zhao Yueru, who sat beside Gentle Snow, pouted her delicate lips. She kicked up a fuss, complaining, "Snow, why must you let that bastard join our team, no matter what? That bastard was just lucky, and his skills are just average. He coincidentally encountered a small dungeon like the Deathly Forest that did not change much since the game's official release, and he very luckily cleared the hell mode of the dungeon. It would be pointless bringing him into the 20-man team dungeon. Also, the skill levels of his party members are just too miserable to even look at. They would definitely become a burden to our progress." The elite members of Ouroboros standing behind Gentle Snow also agreed with Zhao Yueru's words. They were the elites of Ouroboros. How could a group of average players compare to them? I feel that Big Brother Yi Feng is not that simple. He was definitely humble when he said he cleared the dungeon due to luck. His skills are amazing, so it wouldn't be disadvantageous inviting him to join us. Xiao Yue softly offered her personal opinion. "Little girl, what do you know about liars? You just don't know how bad that bastard is. Also, he spent that much time just reaching level 1. His skills are only SOSO. This lady can insta-kill him with a single flame explosion. Zhao Yueru gave Xiao Yue a stare, speaking confidently. Alright, stop arguing. I, too, feel Yi Feng is not that simple. Otherwise, how could he clear the hell mode of the Deathly Forest with a group of novices? When we enter the team dungeon, we will see where his standards lay. If he is not bad, I might consider recruiting him into the Godslaying army. Now, however, let's first bid on this garrison heavy armor. Gentle Snow let out a soft cough. Everyone abruptly became silent, astonished. They never imagined that Gentle Snow would have such considerations. She was actually planning to let Yi Feng join the Godslaying army. The members of the Godslaying army were the elites amongst the elites of Ouroboros. Each member had great skill, and they were experts who were selected out of tens of thousands of players. All of the guild's resources were prioritized on the Godslaying army. Aside from the guild leader and sub-leader, members of the Godslaying army had the most authority within the guild. Many experts in the virtual world struggled tirelessly to join the Godslaying army. However, a large majority of these people were all rejected. On the other hand, Yi Feng, who suddenly appeared before them, actually possessed a very great chance of entering the Godslaying army, and such a sight had caused great envy within them. Chapter 54, Bible of Darkness. Chapter 54, Bible of Darkness. When Gentle Snow disconnected the call, Shifeng let out a breath of relief. Fortunately, he was not discovered. If Gentle Snow found out that Shifeng was the creator of the garrison armor, terrifying consequences might have occurred. Also, Shifeng did not doubt the possibility of Gentle Snow utilizing a forceful approach. The Snow Goddess was not an empty title. Her Iron Fist methods have tongue-tied countless experts. Otherwise, she would not have been able to take care of so many experts. However, Shifeng discovered an interesting matter from Gentle Snow's words. The many guilds in White River City have already started attaching great importance towards the garrison armor. This meant the reputation of the garrison armor had already spread. Currently, the garrison armor's popularity might have reached its peak. It was a great chance for Shifeng to sell the garrison armor in large quantities, earning a ton of money. After another period had passed, the garrison armor's worth would not be as great as it was now. Let's first take a look at the epic quest, then I'll return to making the garrison armors. Shifeng impatiently wanted to return to making garrison armors now that a chance for him to make a lot of money had arrived. However, the epic quest currently before him was much more important. If he gave it up part way, he would definitely regret it for the rest of his life. This epic quest played a big role in allowing Fantasy Extinguisher a legendary achievement. Naturally, Shifeng would not let go of this chance meeting. After spending 20 minutes maneuvering along the narrow pathways of the slum area, Shifeng finally arrived at the library. On his way here, Shifeng discovered the wonder of having a divine official walking by his side in the slums. The NPCs who intended to rob him all backed away accordingly after seeing Charlin's attire. Otherwise, Shifeng would have needed to spend over an hour for this trip, continuously battling against these sore rats. Moreover, these NPCs were literally dirt poor. Shifeng would not obtain any rewards for killing these NPCs, not even EXP. The library of Red Leaf Town had a withered appearance. The building only had 2 floors to it, and there was nobody present to manage it as dead leaves could be seen climbing the walls. Entering the library, dust and dirt covered the entire building. The books laying on the wooden table had long since been parceled up by a layer of dust. The library looked more like a haunted house than a place in which people once lived. Apologies. It has been a long time since anybody has visited, so I haven't been tidying up the place. Just sit wherever you want. Charlin faintly smiled as she pointed towards a dust-covered chair, not understanding that her action was very inappropriate. Revered divine official, I have come here because I wish to have this diary translated, Shifeng said, getting straight towards the point. His eyebrows slightly wrinkled when he looked towards the finger-thick layer of dust covering the chair. He truly did not wish to dirty his clothes. However, Charlene remained minding her own business as she searched for something on the bookshelf. It was like she did not hear Shifeng speak at all. Shifeng was long used to such behaviors, so he chose to remain silent. There were all sorts of NPCs in God's domain. It was especially true for important NPCs. Unique and bizarre behaviors were considered small matters. There were well-known NPCs that were much more damnable. These NPCs caused many first-rate guilds to curse their mothers. After waiting for 10 whole minutes, Charlene finally came out from the pile of bookshelves. In her hands, she held a thick and tattered old book. "I know why you are here. The moment you've set foot in the slums, I could sense the evil energy coming from your body," Charlene said gravely. She placed the tattered book on the table, causing all the dust in the building to abruptly soar. "Let me have a look at the item." Shifeng naturally knew the diary triggered such a scenario. He took out the tattered diary from his bag, carefully passing it to Charlene. Charlene was not in a hurry to receive the diary. Instead, she chanted out a phrase of divine words. Suddenly, streaks of golden divine words wrapped around the diary. Just when Shifeng was wondering about Charlene's actions, a change suddenly came over the diary. Black smoke suddenly appeared on its pitch-black cover, and a sinister-looking face came into view. It looked as if it was in extreme pain. "Evil be gone! Divine spear!" Charlene shouted, her jade-like hand drawing out divine words in midair. At the same time, she started singing out a Tier 3 divine curse, her voice echoing throughout the entire library. A golden-colored hexagram appeared above the library, covering the entire building, and from the magic formation, 3 golden spears of judgment came flying out. The spears pierced the diary, tearing apart the sinister face. "Ha ha ha, I won't give up. We will meet again." The sinister face loudly laughed as it spoke the bone-chilling words. Both of its eyes were firmly affixed toward Shifeng as if the words it spoke were meant for him. Within a moment, the black smoke above the diary dispersed. Meanwhile, Charlene's forehead was covered in sweat. Her complexion was deathly pale, and she currently looked extremely weak. "System, you have been cursed by a great demon. All attributes reduced by 50%, experience received from killing monsters reduced by 95%. System, you have been eyed by a great demon. The phantom of the great demon will come for you in 30 days. If you are killed by the phantom, your body will be taken over by the great demon." Crap. Make it more ruthless, why don't you? Regardless of how self-restrained he had been, Shifeng could not help but curse when he saw this notification. When compared to human standards, a great demon was the equivalent of a Tier 4 job. It was on the same level as a sword emperor. Although it was just a phantom, it would still require Charlene, who had a Tier 3 job, to handle it. However, instead of aiming for Charlene, the great demon actually went for a bystander and a minor character like Shifeng. With this curse around, how would he be able to level up? Not to mention the 50% reduction in attributes. It had caused his attributes to sink down to the level of an average player. It would be a problem if he wanted to kill monsters of a higher level. He also had to face the phantom of the great demon. "Miss Charlene, are you alright?" Although he was cursed, Shifeng still spoke politely. Charlene shook her head slightly, speaking with a smile, "Nothing too bad. I never imagined that you would actually bring such a terrifying item. You've weakened me quite a bit. However, the problem has been resolved now. If you had dragged on for a few more days, your body might have been possessed by the great demon, and your body would suffer in hell for all eternity. Thank you, Miss Charlene. If it weren't for you, I might have already been dead." Although Charlene's words felt somewhat wrong, Shifeng had still thanked her. He rejoiced at the fact that he had come to the library without delay. Otherwise, he would truly be finished. However, the problem right now had yet to be resolved. No need for thanks. This diary is not as simple as it seems. It is a key. In it records the method to unlock the curse on a gate. Your job now is to find this gate, enter through it with this diary, and find the Bible of Darkness that is kept within. I can destroy the Bible of Darkness as long as you retrieve it for me. Once it is destroyed, the great demon would not be able to descend, Charlene explained. System, Epic Quest Darkness Descends accepted. Find and destroy the Bible of Darkness and prevent the great demon from descending. Rewards unknown. Although Shifeng had known about the extreme difficulty of completing an epic quest, there was still no need for it to be so damnable. At the very least, the quest should tell him where to find the Bible of Darkness. In Shifeng's previous life, Fantasy Extinguisher had completed this quest in Black Dragon Empire. However, Shifeng couldn't just go to Black Dragon Empire. Even if he went there, the teleportation gates had not been activated at this stage of the game, so he would have to run there. However, even if he ran till his legs broke, he would still need to waste several months before he could reach the borders of Black Dragon Empire. Chapter 55, Moondrip. Chapter 55, Moondrip. Shifeng entered deep thought. He did not understand how Fantasy Extinguisher completed this epic quest in his previous life. Who the heck would know where the Bible of Darkness was stored? Moreover, in his previous life, the information Shifeng collected regarding this quest was very incomplete, so the parts he could use as reference were extremely limited. Currently, the evil curse Shifeng was shouldering even made leveling a problem. No matter what, he had to think of a solution to this problem. Otherwise, the problems he would face in the future would be even greater. Esteemed Miss Charlene, I am now cursed by the demon. Do you have any methods to resolve it? Shifeng calmed his heart. He turned to look at Charlene, who was currently in a delicate state, asking, also, where can I find the Bible of Darkness? Even just a clue is helpful. Hearing Shifeng's series of questions, a bright smile appeared on Charlene's pure countenance. You sure have a lot of questions, huh, you little bastard? It's not like I don't have a method to resolve your curse. However, you should know, to get something, you have to give something in return. There is only one way to dispel the curse, and that is to carry out a moondrip. The moondrip is a ceremony that can dispel all magic and curses in the world. However, many materials are required to carry out this ceremony. I will provide the materials required, but in return, you have to pay 3 gold coins as remuneration for my services. If you wish to obtain a clue to the Bible of Darkness, you have to pay an additional 10 gold coins as an information fee. Shifeng felt a chill going down his spine as he looked at Charlene's expression, which became more excited the more she explained. It was especially true for Charlene's eyes. Even if she looked incomparably pure right now, her appearance was still not enough to hide the burning desire within her eyes. In the end, one word still dictated everything. Money. System. Do you wish to accept the quest to dispel the curse? Esteemed Miss Charlene, I am willing to pay the remunerations. What else could he have said? However, Charlene's asking price of 3 gold coins was just too high. There was not a single player in White River City who could afford such an amount right now. Since you are willing, then pay a deposit of 1 gold coin. Charlene stretched out her delicate hand without restraint. Seeing Charlene's actions, Shifeng suspected that she had some sort of X-ray technique. However, he had to pay the money sooner or later, so Shifeng reluctantly handed over 1 gold coin to Charlene. The moment Shifeng had handed over the money, he went from being a wealthy tycoon to being a poor peasant. Here, this is for you. You need to feel the energy within this thing first. It will lead you to the Moonlight Forest to collect 30 pieces of moonstone. It's fine if you just bring them back to me. Charlene took the shining gold coin with lightning speed, then took out a fist-sized crystal orb and passed it to Shifeng. System. Quest Moondrip accepted. You must collect 30 pieces of moonstone and 2 gold coins for Charlene. Upon completion, Charlene will dispel the evil curse of the great demon on you. Shifeng received the crystal orb and took a look at it. Teleportation magic orb. Able to teleport the user to and from the Moonlight Forest immediately after activation. Activation condition: 200,000 EXP needed to be stored. 200,000 experience points were enough to let the average player rise from level 0 to level 7 within an instant. To Shifeng right now, such an amount was asking for his life. Currently, the experience he obtained from killing monsters would be reduced by 95%. He would obtain absolutely no experience from killing monsters of the same level. As for elites, he would just be able to obtain around 10 EXP for killing one that was a level higher. That meant he would have to kill 20,000 elites that were one level higher than him to collect 200,000 EXP. How long would it take for him to kill that many? Moreover, there weren't even that many elite monsters in Red Leaf Town. It really is worthy of being called an epic quest. The difficulty is truly insane, Shifeng bitterly laughed. In Shifeng's previous life, Fantasy Extinguisher had the support of the first-rate guild, Fantasy Shrine. So, he was able to complete the quest after much difficulty. However, Shifeng did not have the support of a first-rate guild. It would be extremely difficult if he wanted to complete the quest. However, as long as Shifeng completed it, the rewards would easily outshine the troubles. The rewards for this epic quest resulted in Fantasy Extinguisher's fame. Although Shifeng did not have a first-rate guild supporting him, he was a reincarnated person. He still had quite an advantage over the other players. At the very least, he would not lose out to the first-rate guilds regarding earning money. It looks like I can only return and forge garrison armors for now. Shifeng kept the crystal orb and left the library. He planned to first earn enough gold coins before thinking of a way to store up 200,000 EXP. The sky outside was already bright by the time Shifeng returned to the trade area. Many players already left to kill monsters and level up, emptying the streets by quite a bit. Shifeng immediately went to the bank to retrieve the forging materials and the Philosopher's Stone. Just when Shifeng was headed to the Forging Association, a notification came from the system. System: the garrison heavy armor you have placed on auction has been sold. After deducting the processing fees, a total of 31 silvers 53 coppers have been added to your bag space. Is it worth that much? Shifeng was shocked. The level 3 garrison heavy armor was just a piece of equipment that had similar attributes to a mysterious iron equipment. At most, it was worth 20 silver coins. Now, however, it had been sold for over 30 silver coins. One could just imagine how frantic these guilds were towards the garrison heavy armor. Shifeng's enthusiasm was further boosted with the arrival of this information. He could not help but wish he could immediately forge 100 pieces of garrison armor, selling them and making a big profit. Hence, Shifeng activated Windwalk as he rushed towards the Forging Association. Without hesitation, Shifeng reserved an intermediate forging room for 20 hours. If he did not reap the money of those guilds right now, he would not be doing justice towards his own reincarnation. Inside the forging room, Shifeng refined all the stone he collected, going all out as he forged the garrison armors. When the first garrison armor was successfully forged. System: garrison armor has been successfully forged. Forgery proficiency increased by 2 points. Obtained 800 EXP. System: do you wish to store the experience obtained in the teleportation magic orb? Suddenly, Shifeng halted the work he was doing. He called out the system interface, taking a careful look. I obtained 800 EXP from forging. Shifeng placed a hand on his chin, pondering. Suddenly, he said with a smile, how could I forget about this in a panic? The curse is only aimed at the experience obtained from killing monsters. It has no effect towards experience that is rewarded. Although a lot of time was needed to forge a piece of equipment, it was a different story if the success rate was very high. Shifeng's leveling speed at that time would be a lot faster than the average player, even with the 95% experience reduction state he was currently under. With such an opportune method in hand, the difficulty of the epic quest had been greatly reduced in an instant. Moreover, Shifeng had the Book of Forging. It could increase the success rate of forging the garrison armor up to 60%. With it, Shifeng's leveling speed would greatly surpass even the expert players. It would not be long before he would finish collecting the 200,000 EXP. In such a way, Shifeng could earn not just money, but experience as well. It was killing 2 birds with 1 stone. It was absolutely great. Fantasy Extinguisher most likely did not imagine there was such a quick method to dispelling the curse. Thinking up to this point, Shifeng immediately adjusted for the system to distribute 100% of the experience he obtained to be stored in the teleportation magic orb. Then, He picked up an oar and started happily forging equipment. Because of his improved mood, Shifeng's hands became much more nimble. The 100 refinement hammer in his hands was like a musical instrument, rhythmically beating out a moving melody. By the time Shifeng regained his sense of self, he was suddenly dumbfounded by the garrison armor before him. Chapter 56, Glimmer Chestplate. Chapter 56, Glimmer Chestplate. The current garrison armor before Shifeng was largely different than the previous ones. Its design had largely changed, and even the color had become a pale gold. This was absolutely not the garrison armor. Crap, Shifeng understood he had failed. Before, he was too absorbed into his own excitement while he was forging the equipment. He smashed the hammer in whichever way he wanted, giving the garrison armor a completely different appearance. He even felt good about it. Still, the appearance of this new plate armor looked extremely cool. It would definitely look majestic while worn. Following which, Shifeng chose to identify the equipment's information. The system took a whole 10 seconds before giving a conclusion this time. Unnamed, bronze rank plate armor. Level 3. Equipment requirement, strength 12. Defense plus 23. Strength plus 3, endurance plus 3. HP plus 120. Durability 35/35. Additional ability. Healing power, healing effects received are increased by 10%. Restricted to shield warriors and guardian knights. System, unnamed equipment has been successfully forged. Forging proficiency increased by 3 points. Obtained 1100 EXP. System, congratulations. You are the first player to forge an entirely new piece of bronze equipment in God's domain. Obtained 3000 EXP rewarding 1 runic hammer, mysterious iron rank, that increases forging success rate by 5%. System, please give a name to the equipment you have created. You are also able to leave a personal mark on this piece of equipment. Shifeng was slightly shocked when he saw these notifications. He had unintentionally remodeled the garrison armor, and successfully at that. He even created an entirely new piece of bronze equipment. His luck was truly good. The attributes of this equipment had already reached the level of an average mysterious iron equipment. If only the materials used were not so poor, it would definitely have become a mysterious iron equipment. In God's domain, players were able to create equipment. However, this was an extremely difficult task to accomplish. Not only did the player have to be extremely familiar with forging, but they also had to have a thorough understanding of the various materials available. After undergoing hundreds of trials, only then could completely new, and good quality, equipment be created. Usually, players who wanted to create new equipment would only start to do so after they had risen to become an advanced forger. After all, to become a master forger, not only did a player require sufficient proficiency, they also needed to create 3 entirely new pieces of mysterious iron equipment, and also 1 entirely new piece of secret silver equipment. Only after all those conditions were achieved could a player become a master forger. Due to this condition, the players who became master forgers were extremely rare. Meanwhile, Shifeng unintentionally created an entirely new piece of bronze equipment. Of course, the Book of Forging's effect played a large part in contributing to this success. Since the color has become a pale gold, and it's giving off a dull glow, let's call it the Glimmer Chest Piece. Shifeng immediately confirmed the equipment's new name. After which, he left an imprint of a black flame at a corner of the equipment. This imprint was the equivalent of a forger's name. In the future, when others see this symbol, they would know that this equipment was created by Master So-and-so. At the same time, the symbol also served to prevent others from falsifying the equipment's original creator. In the blink of an eye, the equipment's information also had a change to it. Glimmer Chest Piece, Bronze Rank Plate Armor. Level 3. Equipment requirement, Strength 12. Defense plus 23. Strength plus 3, Endurance plus 3. HP plus 120. Durability 35/35. Additional ability. Healing power, healing effects received are increased by 10%. restricted to shield warriors and guardian knights. On the right breast of the glimmer chest piece, the mark of a black flame appeared. The flame constantly faded in and out of existence, further enriching the aesthetics of the glimmer chest piece. System: Black flame imprint has been successfully registered. This imprint has been bound to your gaming account, and nobody else is able to use it. System: Naming successful. Forging design for the glimmer chest piece has been automatically generated. Player can now voluntarily draw the forging design for the glimmer chest piece, allowing others to learn the forging design. Suddenly, an additional window appeared in Shifeng's lifestyle panel. It was called Forging Design Creation, and it allowed players to create their own forging designs. Shifeng felt endless ecstasy when he saw this new window. This was the benefit of creating something original. As long as Shifeng had a pen and drawing paper, he could fabricate as many forging designs for the glimmer chestplate as he wanted. This was the treatment that was only available for original creations. Forging designs were much more valuable than the equipment itself. In Shifeng's previous life, countless master forgers constantly researched various materials and used all sorts of methods to develop new equipment. Other than trying to become a grandmaster forger, their main goal was to obtain an original forging design. This item was the reason why some master forgers were extremely rich. The process of fabricating a forging design was very simple, and they could easily make tens to hundreds of them anytime they wanted. Otherwise, how much money could they make, even if they exhaust themselves by forging equipment every single day? With the glimmer chestplate forging design, earning 10 gold coins was a small matter. At that time, it was even possible for Shifeng to earn up to 30 or 40 gold coins. After all, there were a lot of players in White River City and no shortage of guilds, either. Afterward, Shifeng continued forging glimmer chestplates, no longer forging garrison armors. Both of them required the same materials to make. However, the glimmer chestplate had a cooler-looking appearance and even came with an additional ability. There was another benefit for an original creation. When forging your own creation, the success rate for it was increased by 10%, and the equipment would also have a higher chance to come with an additional ability. As long as the glimmer chestplate's fame spread, Shifeng would have no troubles selling its forging design. Time passed, bit by bit. Shifeng was completely unaware of his surroundings as he forged equipment. His heart was filled with the thoughts of money. 1 gold coin. 2 gold coins. 3 gold coins. Piece after piece of shining golden equipment piled up in the entire forging room. When 10 hours had passed since Shifeng rented the forging room, a loud notification had come from the system. Only then had Shifeng suddenly realized 10 hours had already gone by. His gains were even more shocking, however. He successfully made a total of 142 pieces of equipment, and the materials he had bought were nearly depleted. Amongst the attributes of the equipment, there were some that were good, and some that were bad. The difference between them was the healing effects. The bad ones had 5%, while the good ones had 12%. There were a total of 76 pieces that had their healing effects below 7%, 48 pieces that had their healing effects between 7% and 9%, and 18 pieces that were between 10% and 12%. These pieces of equipment filled up over half of Shifeng's bag space. At the same time, Shifeng's proficiency also had a big increase, reaching up to 514 points. Shifeng was now halfway to becoming an intermediate forging apprentice. Shifeng took out the teleportation orb to have a look. The experience it had currently stored up was close to 150,000. As long as Shifeng continued putting in an effort for several more hours, he would be able to store up the 200,000 and immediately go to the Moonlight Forest. The speed at which Shifeng gained EXP was at least 2 to 3 times faster than the guild leaders of first-rate guilds. After leaving the Forging Association, Shifeng ran to the auction house. Currently, a majority of the average players should have already risen to level 3, whereas many veteran players should have risen to level 4. Only expert players would be closing into level 5. After all, a lot of experience was required to rise from level 4 to level 5. The amount needed was at least 3 to 4 times the amount needed to rise from level 3 to level 4. Right now was the perfect time for Shifeng to sell the level 3 bronze equipment. The various guilds should also have amassed quite an amount of wealth after more than 10 hours had passed, so it was a good chance for Shifeng to make a big catch. If another period of time were to pass, the prices of equipment would most likely be greatly reduced. After arriving at the auction house, Shifeng noticed that the number of logistic players present significantly had reduced. It seemed as if they were no longer as enthusiastic towards the garrison armor as before. "Fellow brother, why are there suddenly so few people at the auction house?" Shifeng walked up behind a logistic player, asking. The tall and bespectacled logistic player was slightly surprised, explaining, "Have you been killing monsters outside town all this time? You don't even know about such a huge matter." "Yeah, I've just returned after making some money from killing monsters and selling materials. Wasn't that garrison armor super popular?" "I, too, wanted to buy a piece," Shifeng nodded. "No wonder you don't know about it. 3 hours ago, a player called Hammer Trading had sold a lot of level 3 bronze plate armor equipment. Although the attributes on it were slightly weaker than the garrison armor, its price was extremely low, costing only 4 silver coins. Moreover, that player even announced that there would be discounts if you contacted him and ordered in bulk." Naturally, the various guilds all contacted him and ordered. That equipment is now extremely popular, so who would remain here and pay attention to the garrison armor? Chapter 57, Hammer Trading. Chapter 57, Hammer Trading. Hammer Trading? Shifeng wanted to confirm once more. Correct. He even posted a thread on the forums criticizing the Blackheart forger that made the garrison armor. Currently, the thread has already received more than 7 million clicks. With it, that guy has quickly become a famous person in White River City. I heard many large guilds have already sent out an olive branch to him, trying to recruit him with a high price. The logistics player had a face filled with envy while he spoke. He couldn't help but wish he could turn into Hammer Trading. That way, he would be able to live a life filled with beauties and riches. Shifeng only smiled at the player as he turned to walk towards an empty seat. He sat down and called out the game's official forum. He wanted to have a good look at this Hammer Trading who nearly robbed him of his business. In Shifeng's previous life, Hammer Trading did not reveal himself as quickly as this. Before Shadow scouted him, he had been playing God's Domain with tens of fellow schoolmates. With the support of these schoolmates, in addition to some chance meetings that had allowed him to become an intermediate forging apprentice, he managed to become acquainted with the upper echelons of Shadow. At that time, there were very few intermediate forging apprentices. The bronze equipment that was forged at the time was also very popular. Seeing such a situation, Shadow also wanted a share of the profits. So, they paid a large price to hire Hammer Trading. Along with the continuous support of Shadow Workshop, Hammer Trading grew to become a shocking figure, becoming a relatively famous forger and earning Shadow a lot of money. Afterward, Hammer Trading also obtained the forging talent in addition to the great support from Shadow, allowing him to become a master forger. During those times, he did not have the slightest hint of respect for Shifeng, who was the guild leader of Shadow at that time. In the end, with the strong support of Hammer Trading, along with several master forgers and master potion makers, Lanhua financial groups gladly agreed to World Dominator's acquisition of Shadow. Otherwise, Lanhua financial groups would not have agreed to the decision without hesitation and dismissing Shifeng at the same time. Shifeng opened the forums for Starmoon Kingdom, his heart lamenting over how fate was toying with him. In this life, just when the garrison armor was beginning to sell like hotcakes, Hammer Trading appeared to break off his road to wealth. Shifeng couldn't help but admit that he and Hammer Trading were rivals in life. Shifeng stole the forging talent from Hammer Trading, whereas Hammer Trading turned around to break off his road to wealth. Browsing the forums of Starmoon Kingdom, Shifeng quickly discovered a thread marked in red, positioned at the top of the forum. "Upholding justice starts from us. We absolutely cannot let this Blackheart forger do as he pleases. I am a forger with a kind heart." These large, bright red words caused Shifeng's brows to furrow. What kind of trouble is he trying to cause here? The number of clicks exceeded 10 million. Out of curiosity, Shifeng had opened the thread. Shifeng looked at the eloquently written condemnation that had over 10,000 words. The article had justifiably mentioned that the cost of making a piece of bronze equipment did not even exceed 1 silver coin. However, the Blackheart Shifeng sold his equipment for up to 30 silver coins. He was ripping off other players. Hence, Hammer Trading wanted to oppose Shifeng. He was even willing to sell level 3 bronze equipment without limit. Only, due to the failure rates, he had no choice but to sell them at 4 silvers apiece to reclaim his cost of making. This article received the support of a lot of players. They had all declared that they would no longer purchase the garrison armor and that they would support Hammer Trading's actions of kindness. Shifeng was speechless after reading the entire article. The entire article was just trying to put a smear on his reputation while heightening Hammer Trading's own self. At the same time, Hammer Trading wanted to state that he, too, could forge bronze equipment. He was clearly trying to use Shifeng as a stepping stone to raise his own worth and fame. He wanted to let the many large guilds extend an olive branch to him, and in turn, raising his own worth. However, Shifeng had to admit that Hammer Trading had succeeded. Not only had his fame risen in a burst, but many second-rate guilds had also sent him an invitation. There were even a few first-rate guilds who were willing to discuss matters of cooperation with Hammer Trading. Crap, not only has he broken off my path to wealth, he still wants to use me as a stepping stone. Shifeng could no longer hold back his 2 lifetimes worth of rage. He wanted to properly teach Hammer Trading a lesson. Did he think he was awesome for selling level 3 bronze equipment without limit? Shifeng did not wish to have any relation with Hammer Trading if he did not try to use Shifeng as a stepping stone. However, now that he had provoked Shifeng, he must be ready to pay the appropriate price. Shifeng felt it was just hilarious when he looked at the statements and numbers provided by Hammer Trading. Basic forging apprentices only had a 5% success rate when forging a piece of level 3 bronze equipment. However, looking at the numbers provided by Hammer Trading, it could be seen that he did not possess just a forging design for a piece of bronze equipment. He must have also obtained an item that increased the success rate for forging. In addition to using the intermediate forging room, his success rate should be around 20%. That was why he dared to spout nonsense and brought out several pieces of equipment for auction to prove his words. However, according to Shifeng's estimates, to raise his reputation, Hammer Trading was taking a loss of 1 silver coin for every piece of bronze equipment he sold. Although Shifeng did not know how much funding Hammer Trading had, he was still 10 years too early from competing with Shifeng. Selling at 4 silver coins, is it? Shifeng would sell his equipment at 4 silver coins as well. He had the Philosopher's Stone and the Book of Forging, so his initial cost was just slightly more than 10 coppers. Including his terrifying success rate, Shifeng was looking forward to seeing who had the last laugh. Without holding anything back, Shifeng immediately posted a thread on the forum anonymously. The article was titled "Shockingly High-Quality Plate Armor on Auction House." Afterward, he called up the interface for the auction house, placing 20 pieces of the worst glimmer chestplate on auction. The healing power on the glimmer chestplate had a remarkable effect on MTS when inside a dungeon. It was even better when compared to the garrison armor. When compared to Hammer Trading's Savage chestplate, it was more than 2 times better. Players would naturally know which equipment to choose when they saw the glimmer chestplate. Hammer Trading, didn't you want to be famous? I'll let you become super famous. I'll turn you into a celebrity. Shifeng revealed a cold grin as he closed the interface. He turned around and left the auction house, setting up a stall outside to purchase stones and hard stones. 2 minutes after Shifeng had posted his thread, a few players noticed Shifeng's post. Average players were still very attentive towards high-quality equipment. Currently, the average player did not even possess a piece of bronze equipment, not to mention high-quality equipment. So, naturally, they wanted to get a glimpse. The moment these players arrived at the auction house, they were stupefied by what they saw. The attributes on the glimmer chestplate was just too good, especially the healing power. It was definitely the most beloved ability for an MT when inside a dungeon. After they finished looking at the attributes, the players chose to try wearing it. They looked at their own appearance when wearing the glimmer chest plate. Streamline mold, dashing figure, and even a faint radiance coming off their bodies. There was also a flickering black flame on their left breast. They looked absolutely awesome. It was as if they had become the heroes from legends while wearing the glimmer chest plate, valiant and powerful. Then, they looked at the selling price. It actually only required 4 silver coins. These players did not dare believe their eyes. Such high-end equipment was only selling for 4 silver coins. If they did not buy it, they would be doing a disservice to their own lives. Even if they did not have much money on their persons, they were willing to sacrifice everything they had to buy the glimmer chest plate. Within a short 15 minutes, Shifeng's post had become the topic of the forum. There were even players who posted the information and appearance of the glimmer chest plate, the equipment instantly arousing everyone's exclamation. Shield warriors and guardian knights could not help but wish they could obtain this high-end equipment right that instant. However, when they wanted to go to the auction house and buy it, there were only 4 pieces of the equipment remaining. Moreover, every one of those pieces had their prices bad up to more than 6 silver coins. One MT from an elite party had reluctantly chosen to borrow money from all over the place. In the end, he successfully won a piece for 7 silver coins. When the glimmer chest plate arrived in his hands, he no longer minded the money he owed for it. With such attributes and dashing appearance, he would not have any troubles earning money in the future. Thinking up to this point, the smile on this shield warrior spread widely. Chapter 58 Equipment Competition. Chapter 58 Equipment Competition. Just a short 20 minutes after Shifeng placed the glimmer chest plates on auction, all 20 pieces of them had been sold off. The glimmer chest plate's popularity was far better than the garrison armor. There were even quite a few players showing off their purchases on the official forum. Previously, these players had to beg, using various methods, to join a party. Now, however, with their majestic-looking equipment, a simple shout would garner them tens of invites from elite parties for their own choosing. Following the glimmer chest plate's rise in popularity, the players that failed to buy one were all beating their own chest in anguish. They hated themselves for not borrowing money to buy the piece of equipment since, right now, it was no longer being sold. Meanwhile, the Forging Association in Golden Sand Town was packed with people. The spacious hall was entirely occupied by players. The players present were the spokespeople for various guilds. They were here for only one purpose, and that was to invite hammer trading to their guild. Amongst the guilds present, there were quite a few that were very famous. There was no lack of spokespeople for third-rate guilds. If it were during ordinary times, these spokespeople would act proud and arrogant. They would use a condescending attitude when dealing with lifestyle players. Even so, these lifestyle players would still treat them with great respect. They would even shed tears of emotion, pledging their loyalty to the guild as they quickly signed the contract, becoming a part of a large guild. However, the current trend of the game had changed. The higher-ups of the guilds strongly emphasized that they, the spokespeople, must definitely invite hammer trading. Otherwise, they could start packing up their bags. Hence why these guild spokespeople were like obedient grandchildren, standing and waiting in the hall for hammer trading summons. Inside an intermediate forging room on the 2nd floor. "Brother Hammer, you're so awesome. I admire you so much. Before, those third-rate guilds would not recruit you no matter what. Now, they're just like grandchildren waiting upon you. They would not leave even if you chased them away." A sexy female cleric in her mid-20s hugged around Hammer Trading's robust arm, giggling and speaking with admiration. Her bulging chest was rubbing against his arm. Hammer Trading had a very brutish appearance. He had a thick beard and beady eyes, and his skin color was similar to yellowish wax. Judging from his appearance, he looked to be over 30 years of age. Nobody was able to tell, however, that Hammer Trading was just a university student in reality. His age was just slightly over 20. Ha ha ha, this is just a small matter. However, I truly have to thank the fool who opened the road for me and has even hidden his name. He made all the large guilds know of my importance. Hammer Trading heartily laughed. He silently praised his own intelligence and wisdom for being able to think up of a plan to utilize that anonymous forger's fame. It allowed him his current good fortune, becoming every player's idol. Wait till I've entered a first-rate guild and rise into their upper echelons. It will be truly awesome. Right now, I'm just showing a small part of my prowess. Let those third-rate guilds continue waiting outside. I can use them to raise my own value and fame. Boss, what are we going to do about all the orders we've received? An assassin asked. Hammer Trading rolled his eyes at the assassin, saying in disdain, who cares about them? I'm taking a loss of 2 silver coins per piece of equipment. Do they think I'm running a charity? My goal has already been met. I'm only waiting for the first-rate guilds to come. Don't bother with the other players, just tell them that we're too busy and don't have time. To use Shifeng as a stepping stone, Hammer Trading used up all the silver coins belonging to his classmates. He also spent a lot of credits to purchase a lot of materials and silver coins. Yet, he only forged over 10 savage chestplates from all those materials. So, selling each piece at a maximum of 4 silver coins caused a major loss for him. However, all his sacrifices were worth it. As long as he was recruited by a first-rate guild, he could get as many materials as he wanted, a huge salary, and even a line of female players desiring his attention. Hammer Trading felt invigorated just from thinking of all these benefits. Suddenly, a berserker entered the forging room with a panicked expression. What happened, Hadron? Seeing as you're in such a hurry, has the upper echelon of a first-rate guild arrived? Hammer Trading teasingly asked. Big trouble. A lot of top-tier equipment has suddenly appeared at the auction house. All the players on the game's official forum are discussing it now, and the number of clicks on the post is madly increasing. The post has over 5 million clicks right now, and many guilds have started to notice it. Moreover, the equipment is being sold by the same anonymous forger. The equipment's price is set at a minimum of 4 silver coins. Everyone is starting to wonder about the identity of the forger responsible, and they are no longer paying any attention to you, boss. Moreover, there are already a few first-rate guilds who made a declaration on the forum. They are willing to hire that forger with a high salary and make him the chief forger of their guild. A few representatives of large guilds downstairs have also started leaving for the auction house. Hammer Trading's expression froze when hearing Hadron's words. He only managed to attract the attention of first-rate guilds after much difficulty. However, now, that anonymous forger stole his wind. If he did not steal it back, those first-rate guilds would most likely forget about him. He has such nerve to steal my wind and position. Don't blame me for not being polite. Making that kind of top-tier equipment has a high cost and low success rate. If you sell it at 4 silver coins, then I'll sell at 3 silver coins. I wonder just how much you can afford to lose. Hammer Trading abruptly stood up. He wanted to let Shifeng know he would definitely not let the position of chief forger, and his future happiness, go. He was already taking a loss of 2 silver coins for making the savage chestplate that had inferior attributes. Then, Shifeng would at least lose 4 to 5 silver coins for selling each piece of top-tier equipment at 4 silver coins. Maybe even more. Hammer Trading believed he could outlast Shifeng. But, boss, we don't have many silver coins remaining. At most, we can afford to forge 10 more savage chestplates, Hedron worryingly said. What is there to be afraid of? I still have some funds. Worst comes to worst, I'll spend some more credits to buy materials and silver coins. I believe I can get rid of that little bastard. For every piece of equipment that little bastard sells, he's taking a loss of at least double or triple of ours. Why should we be afraid? Hammer Trading confidently asked. He assured himself that Shifeng, too, was trying to attract the attention of first-rate guilds by doing such lossful business. However, he would definitely be the final champion. An hour later, a few additional savage chestplates appeared on White River City's auction house. Their minimum selling price was 3 silver coins each. At the same time, a new post appeared on the game's official forum. For the benefit of the masses, I, Hammer Trading, have decided to sell the savage chestplate at 3 silver coins each. I will make a stand against this Blackheart forger to the end. Requesting support. requesting encouragement. Suddenly, a wave of players followed the post, sending it to the top of the forum. Every one of them supported Hammer Trading's kind actions. As a result of this incident, all of White River City became lively. Everyone understood this was a competition between two forgers that were capable of forging bronze equipment. Every player in White River City watched on with anticipation. The ones who would profit from this exchange, in the end, would definitely be them, the players. It would not be long before they would be able to purchase bronze equipment at a low price. The various guilds also started watching by the sidelines, no longer expressing any of their intentions. They were all waiting for the final victor, while at the same time buying all of the equipment and developing their guild's strength. However, Shifeng himself did not know of this matter. He just finished purchasing stones and hard stones. Just after entering the auction house, he discovered that the number of players there had once more increased. Only then did he find out about this incident. "You wish for a fight?" Shifeng faintly smiled, then, "Come." He called out the auction house's control interface, placing all of his glimmer chest plates on auction. He assigned 20 pieces to be sold every hour, selling a total of 120 pieces of glimmer chest plates. Such a number was definitely enough to torment Hammer Trading. Afterward, Shifeng used the money earned from selling glimmer chest plates to buy hard stones and card sets. After purchasing all these items, Shifeng suddenly discovered that he still possessed a little more than 1 gold coin. From time to time, Shifeng would receive a notification from the system. It would state that another glimmer chest plate had been sold, and some amount of silver coins have been deposited into his bag. Shifeng felt, the more silver coins he spent, the more silver coins he had. The amount he did not seem to be decreasing in the slightest. Shifeng considered selling some of his silver coins at the trade center, exchanging it for some spending money in real life. It was much better than just holding on to these silver coins. Chapter 59, Violet Cloud. Chapter 59, Violet Cloud. Although Shifeng was having a relaxing time selling equipment, Hammer Trading was not. To compete with Shifeng, Hammer Trading was constantly forging new savage chest plates. The silver coins in his hands were no different than copper as they disappeared in a flash. Hammer Trading also had to spend credits to purchase more silver coins, giving him an immense heartache. However, when he thought of Shifeng spending much more than him, his heart soothed by a lot. He wanted Shifeng to go bankrupt. Meanwhile, Shifeng left the lively auction house. He arrived at the bank, storing all the card sets and hard stones he had collected into his warehouse. Shifeng was extremely excited as he looked at over 1,000 slots of his warehouse filled. This was the benefit of being reincarnated. In his previous life, he in a miserable state thanks to these items. Now, however, they became one of his biggest sources of income. In the eyes of others, these items were still worthless. However, they would be priceless in the future. Their values could increase by over tenfolds, even tens of folds. It was especially true for card sets. A complete set would be worth tens of times more than a single piece. Even so, the large guilds would still have a hard time obtaining them. After he was finished storing the items, Shifeng made a trip to the grocery store. He bought 5 stacks of white paper and 1 stack of pen and ink. These 2 items could be bought at extremely low prices at the grocery store. A stack of 200 white papers only sold for 10 copper coins, whereas a stack of 20 bottles of black ink sold for 15 copper coins. The best feathered pen also only sold for 20 copper. Even so, Shifeng's casual purchase far exceeded the daily income of an average player. An average player would definitely be unable to spend in such a way. However, to Shifeng, these copper coins could no longer be considered money. Moreover, these items were all necessary for making forging designs. Shifeng would still buy them, even if they cost 10 silver coins. After buying the items, Shifeng headed for the Forging Association. "Sir, do you need any cooling beverages? I have here the best fruit juice in Red Leaf Town. It tastes extremely good, and it is only 1 copper coin per cup." A fragile-looking young lady nervously asked a male guardian knight. The girl was holding onto a small basket, her doll-like eyes carrying with them earnest expectations as she looked at the man. Scram. Don't annoy me. It's just a virtual item, moreover a beverage, yet you are actually charging 1 copper coin for it. I wouldn't want it even if you were giving it for free. The guardian knight cursed in rage, pushing the 16 or 17 years old girl away. He then added, my luck is just bad. Just you wait and see. I'll take care of you if I don't get to buy a glimmer chestplate because you delayed me. The girl that was pushed down but did not cry. Instead, she stood up without wavering. She clapped the dust off her clothes, proceeding to another player with a smile on her face. Shifeng was faintly shocked. He never imagined the girl to be so tough. The average female player usually would not carry out such laborious tasks, not to mention receiving the insults from other players. When Shifeng looked at this girl, he was reminded of his own past self. Shifeng used observing eyes on the girl. Violet Cloud, Level 1 Cleric. Shifeng's heart slightly tightened when he saw this name. This girl was actually Violet Cloud, one of the top 10 clerics in God's domain. If he could recruit her to his side, his team would have a considerable future. Ha ha ha. This is a virtual game, yet you're actually trying to earn money by selling cold beverages? Do you think you're milk tea, sister? Only idiots would buy them. Seeing that you're good-looking, why don't you come over to my place tonight? I can even give you 1 silver coin. A lecherous man in his 30s walked up to Violet Cloud, drooling as he harassed her. Sir, I am only selling cold beverages. Please have some self-respect. Violet Cloud retreated a step, resolutely saying, I've given you praise, yet you're still headstrong. You're but a lowly lifestyle player. If you don't agree with me today, then you can forget about doing business here in the future. The lecherous man threatened in rage. He blocked Violet Cloud's path, staring at her snow-white neck and licking his lips. How could you act in such a way? You are simply shameless. Violet Cloud's eyes were filled with anger. However, she could not win against him in a fight. If she were to continue wasting time here, even her final hope would be gone. Hihi, I am shameless. What are you going to do about it? Bite me. The man felt even better when he looked at Violet Cloud's panicked expression. Watching Violet Cloud trying to hold back from crying and the tears that were rolling about in her eyes, she became even more lovable. Uncle, please give way. I want 1,000 cups of fruit juice. Shifeng used observing eyes on the lecherous man. His name was displayed as Drifting Blood, and he was currently level 3. At this stage of the game, his level was considered relatively good. Drifting Blood turned towards Shifeng, sending him a glare, saying, Brat, this girl is mine. If you don't wish for something to happen to you, then scram. You want 1,000 cups? Then I want 10,000 cups. Do you think you're a tycoon capable of simply taking out 10 silver coins? If you continue competing with me like a fool, I'll send you back to level 0. If fighting were not prohibited within the town, he would have long since gotten rid of Shifeng. Ha ha ha. An amusing show this early in the day. Go for it. Don't hold back. Don't argue if you can fight. What a tycoon, spending 10 silver coins just like that. Unfortunately for him, his angered fatty bear of Martial Union. There's going to be an amusing show to watch. Dog's fart tycoon, I bet he's just boasting to impress the girl. If he can really bring out 10 silver coins, I'll livestream myself eating shit. Quite a few busybodies stopped to watch the occurring scene. They all started a discussion about Shifeng's actions. Shifeng did not pay any attention to Drifting Blood at all. He grabbed Drifting Blood's shoulder, applying a slight force. Before Drifting Blood could react, he was already kneeling on the ground. No matter how much strength he used, even to the point where his face had turned beet red, he still could not stand back up. The surrounding onlookers were immediately dumbfounded. Shifeng was just too courageous, directly taking action within the premises of Red Leaf Town. Was he not afraid of being caught and jailed by the guards? Also, how did Shifeng possess such immense strength? He had actually suppressed a level 3 Guardian Knight with a single hand. Brat, you're dead for sure. Just you wait till the guards arrive. Drifting Blood looked towards Shifeng, smiling in disdain. However, after waiting for some time, the guards had still not shown up. Shifeng paid no attention to Drifting Blood as he firmly pressed him onto the ground, preventing him from even moving. Shifeng looked towards Violet Cloud, his other hand holding out 10 silver coins, saying, 1,000 fruit juices, thank you. The players on the street, who were previously discussing amongst themselves, suddenly turned silent, their eyes nearly popping out of their sockets. This was 10 silver coins, not 10 copper coins. Currently, they had felt extremely wealthy to even have a single silver coin on their person. On the other hand, Shifeng had just simply taken out 10 silver coins. How rich was Shifeng? Was he really a brother tycoon? Violet Cloud rubbed her eyes. She looked at the 10 coins in Shifeng's hand that gave off a silvery glow, her expression filled with incomparable shock. Originally, she thought Shifeng was just trying to help her by saying so. Never would she have imagined that he would truly take out 10 silver coins to buy 1,000 cups of cold beverages that nobody wanted. Drifting Blood was similarly shocked. However, that shock quickly turned into greed. He thought about snatching the 10 silver coins and using them to buy a glimmer chestplate. There would even be leftovers remaining. Brat, I'm a member of Martial Union. If you don't want to be killed back to level 0, then immediately give me 20 silvers. If you do so, I can consider letting you off this time. Otherwise, you'll have to take responsibility for the consequences. Drifting Blood's gaze was affixed to the 10 silver coins as he threatened in a chilling tone. Paying no attention to Drifting Blood, Shifeng looked at Violet Cloud. Seeing that the girl did not react, he asked, "Do you not have that much fruit juice?" I only have 156 cups of fruit juice with me. How about you give me a silver coin, and I'll sell all of the fruit juice to you? Is that all right? Violet Cloud worried that she would anger Shifeng. What would she do if he suddenly decided not to buy? At the same time, she also wanted to thank Shifeng for helping her, so she reduced her selling price. All right. I wonder how long it would take for you to make 900 cups of fruit juice. I want all of them. Shifeng nodded after some thought, asking. The surrounding players were all dumbfounded. What was he planning to do? Did this brat know the value of 10 silver coins? Did this brat truly fancy this young lady? I'm very slow at compounding fruit juice. If Sir is willing, I can be done in 30 hours. Violet Cloud became extremely glad at Shifeng's words. However, when she thought of her extremely slow speed, she worried that Shifeng would no longer wish to buy them. So, she stretched out 5 fingers, hurriedly saying, "How about this? I'll just charge you 5 silver coins for 900 cups." Chapter 60 NPC. Chapter 60 NPC. Looking at Violet Cloud's panicked expression, Shifeng could not help but break into a laugh. No need. I can still afford to pay such an amount of money. If you really sold them to me for 5 silvers only, then you wouldn't be able to earn much. Shifeng waved his hand. Shifeng was not in a hurry to turn Violet Cloud into one of his subordinates. However, he was absolutely not going to let her go. If Shifeng acted too impatiently, he might cause her to grow suspicious of him. So, it was better to deepen their relationship first. Nobody could have imagined that Violet Cloud, one of the top 10 clerics in God's domain, would have such an appearance. A cleric god. That was a genuine tier 6 job. After 10 years passed, there were only a few who reached that standard. Even Fantasy Extinguisher was just a spirit saint, at the pinnacle of tier 5 10 years later. However, as a future cleric god, Violet Cloud was actually a lifestyle player during the initial periods of the game. It was such a waste of talent. Normally in God's domain, only players without any skills would earn money through methods other than killing monsters. However, the popular auxiliary jobs usually had very high requirements, such as a lot of funds, coupled with extremely low success rates. It was extremely hard for a player to survive in such a way without the support of a guild. Meanwhile, auxiliary jobs such as chef was much easier. The cost to support it was also extremely low and players alone could be supported by it by themselves. If their talents were high, and they were capable of creating delicious cuisines, they could still earn quite a lot of money in God's domain. However, delicious cuisines usually required advanced cooking recipes and materials. These items were hard to obtain, so trying to earn a lot of money would not be easy. It was truly hard to imagine that a future cleric god would be such a clumsy young lady. He recalled that Violet Cloud was one of the members of Ouroboros during her first 3 years in God's domain. When the snow goddess left Ouroboros, Violet Cloud similarly left the guild. From then on, she was just a solo player. When she had become a Tier 4 great cleric, countless first-rate guilds tried recruiting her with shockingly high prices. Ouroboros also tried countless times to invite her back. Unfortunately, Violet Cloud did not pay attention to any of them. Her actions greatly angered those first-rate guilds. Since they could not obtain her, they would destroy her. Hence, they sent many experts to assassinate Violet Cloud. Unfortunately, not only did Violet Cloud not get destroyed, instead, she became even stronger. She massacred the players sent by these guilds, giving them a crushing defeat. Not long after, she advanced her job to Tier 5, becoming a brilliant cleric saint. This caused those first-rate guilds to become even more helpless. In the end, Violet Cloud became a Tier 6 cleric god. At that time, she searched for all those first-rate guilds to have her revenge. These guilds could only pay the price of blood to quell this matter. From then on, Violet Cloud became one of the top 10 cleric gods in the entire world. This incident caused the upper echelons of Ouroboros to greatly regret not asking her to stay all those years ago. As a result of this incident, everyone made fun of the inability of the upper echelons of Ouroboros. Instead of utilizing those with potential, they were only using those bootlickers whom they were fond of. In the end, they had missed the chance to become a super guild. However, Shifeng could not find a guild insignia on Violet Cloud's person right now. In addition to Violet Cloud's current appearance, Shifeng could guess Violet Cloud must have been discovered by the snow goddess later on, which in turn resulted in Violet Cloud feeling indebted to the snow goddess. Hence, Violet Cloud left Ouroboros when the snow goddess stopped playing God's domain. Meanwhile, Violet Cloud currently had yet to meet the snow goddess. It was the perfect chance for Shifeng to recruit her. Even if Violet Cloud was unskilled now, she had the potential to become a cleric god. As long as she was properly nurtured, she would definitely be able to become a cleric god in the future. Violet Cloud was no idiot. When she heard Shifeng saying so, she stared at Shifeng in a panic, both her hands covering her poorly developed chest as she retreated a step. "Sir, aside from selling fruit juice, I won't be selling anything else. If you are regretting it now, you can take back your money." Violet Cloud handed over the silver coins she had just received. However, her eyes still carried with them a hint of unwillingness as she did. At her time of despair, a person suddenly emerged, saying that he wanted to purchase 1,000 cups of fruit juice. Moreover, he was even willing to wait for 30 hours without reducing her pay. She would not believe Shifeng had no ulterior motives, even if she were beaten to death. Forget Violet Cloud, even the surrounding players would not believe it. If Shifeng did not have any ulterior motives, why would he save her? He even spent 10 silver coins to buy those unwanted beverages. Shifeng looked at Violet Cloud's vigilant expression and actions. He then looked towards her smooth flat chest, suddenly laughing, "You're overthinking things. I really have no interest towards your flatlands. I'm only buying this many because I just happen to have a use for fruit juice. If you don't wish to sell them to me, then so be it. I'll just find someone else to buy them from." Saying so, Shifeng released Drifting Blood as he turned away and left. However, Drifting Blood was not willing to let Shifeng go. Shifeng publicly humiliated him by forcing him to kneel with just a single hand. Moreover, when has Martial Union been afraid of anyone? Since the guards didn't seem to be paying attention, it would be extremely easy to get rid of Shifeng. Thinking so, Drifting Blood pulled out a weapon and used charge at Shifeng. With his sensitive 5 senses, Shifeng naturally knew of Drifting Blood's actions. Shifeng spun around to face him, pulling out the abyssal blade and using parry. Dang! Drifting Blood's great sword hacked at Shifeng's sword. Instead of hurting Shifeng, however, Drifting Blood was knocked back by 3 yards. The durability of the great sword in his hands instantly reduced by 2 points, and he looked at Shifeng in shock. He did not understand how a person like Shifeng would have such great strength. Shifeng was like a beast in human skin. The surrounding players were similarly shocked. Drifting Blood was a berserker, so he must have definitely added a lot of strength points. He was also at level 3, similar to Shifeng, so how could the gap between them be so great? These players did not know, however, that this was still only half of Shifeng's real strength. After all, Shifeng could obtain 6 free attribute points for every increase to his level. It was 1.5 times that of an average player. Not to mention Shifeng's body was protected by bronze and mysterious iron equipment. There was even the powerful magic weapon. Even with just half of these aspects, Shifeng's strength far exceeded the average player. If Shifeng's strength had not been reduced by half, just by activating the strength-hidden basic skill and the strength provided by the magic weapon, Shifeng could destroy that basic greatsword without a problem. Brat, you're courting death. See how I'll take care of you. Drifting Blood naturally would not believe that Shifeng was his match. He immediately stood back up, lifting his great sword as he looked at Shifeng. Idiot. Shifeng sheathed the abyssal blade, having completely lost interest in Drifting Blood. Watching Shifeng store his weapon, Drifting Blood thought Shifeng had become afraid and wanted to beg for mercy. However, he would not forgive Shifeng. Drifting Blood further increased the power in his hands. Just as Drifting Blood was about to slash at Shifeng, he was immediately sent into a fainted state. Before Drifting Blood could turn around and curse the bastard that attacked him, he suddenly discovered 6 silvery white armored guards standing before him. Without saying anything further, the guards placed Drifting Blood in shackles. "You've violated a town law, take a trip with us. Any resistance and you'll be killed without consideration." The 2 guards grabbed Drifting Blood from both sides, turning around and dragging him away. "Crap, you've got the wrong person. I'm just an ordinary citizen. It's that bastard who attacked me first. You guys should be arresting him." Drifting Blood continuously pointed at Shifeng, yelling injustice in rage. However, the guards paid no attention to his bellowing, taking him away immediately. Everyone was also in shock. Why did the guards only appear now? Moreover, they even apprehended the wrong person. What sort of situation was this, exactly? Could Shifeng actually be an NPC, a part of the nobility? Only nobles would have such authority. To the side, Violet Cloud had a blank expression on her face, unable to make sense of the situation. Why didn't the guards arrest Shifeng? Instead, they arrested Drifting Blood. Was Shifeng really a noble NPC? Violet Cloud's eyes were filled with reluctance as she watched Shifeng leaving. She bit her rosy lips, her delicate hands tightly gripping the hem of her shirt. Of course, she was not reacting so because of how handsome Shifeng was, but instead, she was truly in need of money. Those 10 silver counts were too important to her. You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories,